I hope I'm not that fucking off par on this episode.
We got to be sharp. This is going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big deal. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We watched 4 hours of an investor presentation.
Oh my God.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week's investor call gave us plans for Disney.
Oh boy, I mean that's the biggest understatement of the week, Chris.
Right. Well, we're gonna go a little farther. We're gonna go Pixar. Okay. Okay. We've got like at least 10 Star Wars properties to talk about.
You want a Star Wars? Here's a Star Wars.
We had maybe one at the start of this week. Now we have 10. And Marvel, of all the things, the Marvel panel was probably the most talked about this week.
If you can't tell, Chris and I, we're still in a daze here. I mean, like it's weird to just call it like an investor call because it just sounds so boring and sounds so laced up and tight knit. This was basically like D3 and like 2 Comic-Cons like shoved into one. And I'm not just saying like one Hall H panel. This felt like you were in Hall H for an entire day, not just because of the length, but just the quality of the announcements, right? I mean, some people might have some jokes out there about maybe checking out during like the National Geographic segment of this investor call. But, you know, it's a pandemic. I was sitting at home. I had nothing else to do. So I watched the whole thing from start to finish. And man, like it was 4 hours long. It was intense. It was like you needed to have all your drinks and snacks ready.
This is like one of the only times I wish I had a movie theater to myself. I would just like throw up the Disney presenter call. I'm checking into this movie theater because it was long. It was long. I mean, like I said, I told you it started when I was driving home from work. Mm-hmm. I was able to go to GameStop and pick up my copy of Cyberpunk 2077 while it's playing on my phone, mind you, in my ears. Like I listened to this whole thing, watching it, picking up food on the way home from that. So like this was not like a. Yes, there are some boring parts, like at the beginning, like here's our numbers, here's our growth. At the end, here's our plans. But like this is not just an investor call for people who are giving Disney money more than we are, because Lord knows we are. But it was a nice thing to see how Disney has grown with Disney Plus. Confused the hell out of us by naming their thing Disney Star in other countries that is not America. For other people, that's Hulu for us. And then going on to giving us unprecedented announcements that didn't even leak this week, Mike. None of these were even leaked. We had no idea any of this was coming, and that's the best part.
It makes me wonder if things are leaking less often just because nobody's in an office, so nobody's like walking by somebody else's monitor and it's like, oh wait, that's happening. It was funny. I felt like really naive starting out with this investor call because like I sat down at my computer similar to how I would watch like an Apple keynote, right? You know, I throw it up on my second monitor. You know, I don't even go full screen just because, you know, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be seeing, and I think I'm going to wrap it up in maybe about an hour. Then it just keeps going and going. There's like a literal intermission that was in this for the investors, because I guess they know the investors. They're probably just all old dudes, you know, with all this money that's just like, oh, I got to go take my pills. Please take a 10-minute break before I give you more money, Disney. So there was a point in time where I was like, well, I got to airplay this to my TV now. I'm going to go sit down on the couch, you know, which was great because once you got towards the second half of it, that's where we got all the good, like really, really meat off the bone. So yeah, just like you, I was moving around the apartment through different segments of the presentation.
Yeah, exactly. So like mine started on my car radio, and then as soon as I walked in, my wife was watching the repeats of the Great British Bake Off Christmas episodes. I'm like, you gotta turn it off. This is going on the TV. So I airplay it up there, and I'm like, okay, so about the time I'm like, okay, it's been about an hour and a half. We can probably run and grab this game. And then Star Wars came on. I'm like, all right, sit back down. We got another half hour. And then we listened to it in the radio, and I had it on my phone again, and then came back and threw it right back. Like, it was one of those things I couldn't turn away from it, Mike. It was so enthralling once the meat of this hit. Like, at the beginning, it was just numbers and presentations. Like, you'd hear a boring report. But then it's like, okay, here's our plans. And you're like, oh, they're actually going to give us stuff today. Like they're not holding back. And it was great.
And in an attempt to not sound too hyperbolic and hype things up, but screw it, I'm going to hype it up. This, I think, is going to be the largest episode of Superhero Slate we've ever done. Not just from the amount of stuff that we talk about, not just from the length that we're going to be recording today, but just from the AAA quality of the content that we're going to be talking about. I mean, these are huge announcements. These are things that are going to ripple for like months and weeks and years. I mean, this was the big deal. I mean, we always talk about like that one Marvel showcase that they did like years back where like Feige rented out like a theater in Hollywood and invited some lucky people to show up, and he showed us like the phase 2 timeline for the first time, right? And we're just like, oh my God, look at all these logos. This is crazy. And it was just all Marvel related. I mean, take that and like multiply it by like every tile that's in Disney Plus, right? You got Star Wars, you got like animation, you got Pixar, you got all these different things. So it was just like 4 hours. It was insane. All of this content.
And let's be perfectly honest, we are not covering everything from this presentation. When I sat down to make these quick show notes yesterday, as I told Mike at the start of the show, 2 hours later, I walked out of my office. So half the time it took them to do the presentation, it took me to do the show notes, but I didn't cover everything. This is stuff that I think is more related to what we would talk about and more strong. I didn't cover all the Disney stuff or all the Pixar stuff, but there are some points that I'm going to pull out and we're going to talk about because I think it's important for our show.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about absolutely everything that you need to know about when it comes to the superhero landscape, comic books, all of that stuff. We're not going to be talking about Disney Pixar's Encanto, even though I think it's going to be great. All songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, that'll be awesome. But it's just like, we got to pick and choose. Like, you don't want to be sitting down here for like 4 more hours for us to talk about it.
You just watch the presentation. So, I mean, at that point.
There'll be some omissions. And plus, this stuff will all come back up around again. I'm sure when Encanto eventually gets a trailer, we'll talk about it on the show because we'll be back to a slightly normal volume of news. But I mean, if we just had to like talk about just the whole presentation in general, I mean, it was so hyped towards the end there, right? Because you're just getting all this news one after another, to the point where I was on the couch now. I was jumping up and down. I mean, this stuff was like, it was at the risk of sounding like an aged millennial, it was lit, Chris. It was awesome.
All I can imagine is that video of Tom Cruise jumping up on the couch on Oprah.
Yeah.
And that's you. Like, that's Mike. He's like, yes, I love it. This is great.
Yeah. And to talk about just the mechanics of the investor call video, the reason the excitement was so feverish was right when they said, okay, here you go. Here's your teaser trailer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You didn't know for a split second whether you were going to be able to see it, right? Is this going to be for the investors or is this going to be for the internet at large? So when they started showing it, when I didn't see the countdown timer, which is what they were showing when you weren't allowed to see stuff, like the Obi-Wan trailer, we weren't allowed to see that. So it's like the fact that I got to see we got to see all of the Marvel stuff. That's kind of really what made me excited. Just like, hell yeah, I don't have to wait. I can watch this right now. This is awesome. So it was nice to feel like a kid. It was nice to feel like a nerd again. It was nice to feel like I wasn't just stuck in a pandemic waiting for something exciting to happen, because I feel very lucky that I have the ability to work from home. I don't have to worry so much about finances during this pandemic. We've been very, very safe. We luckily have not lost anyone close to us thanks to this. So all things considered, I'm very, very lucky, but there's just not a whole lot happening, outside of that, right? It's day by day, same stuff, So the fact that we just got this really exciting day was really fun for me.
Well, and the hardest part about this is people ask me when you do the show, what's the worst part? The worst part is there are literally no surprises anymore, right? When we do the news and have to report on this, we get into those nooks and crannies. I sometimes go a little farther than we put on the show, just so I can have the news and the report. So sometimes we don't get surprises. And to have a full section of surprises is a whole several hours is something we've not had in a long time. And that's where I'm embracing this. I'm like, yes, hit me with the stuff I never would have dreamed of. Sure, in my mind, I probably built out some fan fantasies where these existed, but like never would I think some of this would come to fruition along the way. And here we are, able to do that, to have some shocks and be like, yes, please, thank you. And on the flip side of that is what I love about this presentation is only maybe like a handful of things, maybe 10% of this stuff dips into the year 2023. The rest of this is 2021 and 2022 stuff, which means not only are we looking at most of this very soon, but we're going to have, again, probably more review episodes than we've ever had in our lives in the next 2 to 3 years, which is great. That's great. I love doing this show. I love talking about this stuff. So I was just impressed at the not urgency, but how soon they're able to like, this stuff is coming now, not in 5 years. Like, here it is, go.
It's full steam ahead. And it really goes to show you, since it is an investor call, they're really trying to convince them that their money should be with them. But it's obvious that Disney is here for the long term, right? They're building these franchises. There are going to be sequels, prequels, trilogies, fourth movies of all of this stuff. They're building franchises, multiple seasons of all these shows. They're looking so far past the pandemic. That was the big takeaway I think I took from this investor call, that HBO Max is, out there throwing bombs. Oh, we're going to drop all of our movies day and date next year. You can watch all this stuff from your own home. It's amazing. This is next level. No one's ever done this before. Oh, you're called. It's like your move, Disney. And Disney shows up as just like, okay, we know the pandemic's bad, but there's going to be a vaccine, and hopefully we'll be back to normal within the next year, because we got like 20 years of content. We got like a 20-year roadmap for Disney Plus. We have all of this stuff that's gonna like fold out into all of these different avenues. It's just like 2021 is like so last year already to them, right? They already have this crazy game plan just ready to go, that it's just like, yeah, people are going to be going back to the theaters. We're going to be making billions of dollars off the next Avengers movie whenever that comes out. We got Patty Jenkins out here making stuff for us. We stole her away from you guys. So it's crazy, and it makes me feel good, which always makes me feel bad on the same side, because I feel like I'm talking about candy, sugar that's rotting my teeth. Disney, this big giant corporation, and I'm just like bowing down to them. But it's just like, if they're giving me stuff that I like, I'm just gonna allow myself to be happy, at least for a moment here, right?
We'll take it.
And so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And there may be stuff that shifts and moves around, but it doesn't matter, because they've committed to making these at this point, right? Like, they've told the investors, guess what? This is what we're doing. Here's where your money's going. Let's rock out. It
shows us that there is a world out there that we'll be returning to, right? With the big screen, with the theaters, and then Disney Plus, at home is also going to be there. So it's like, we're not always going to be locked down like this. So we'll get back to a normal life sooner or later, and then we can just go back to being the nerds that we love, where it's our choice to stay at home and not just forced upon us. So that's my long-winded way of just saying Thursday was really special. I had a lot of fun, and now I'm really excited to talk about all this stuff on the show. And
it was great because it reminded me of Comic-Con 2019, Mike, because we didn't get to be there in person, but we're all refreshing our feeds, watching this video, tweeting each other, like texting each other together, right? Like, it was like we could have been in the same room and the energy was still there. Like, it was beautiful. So
yeah, I mean, the news was like so fast. Like, I couldn't even comment specifically on what was coming out of Kevin Feige's mouth. I was just going, what is happening? Yeah. What is going on? Like, it was so much fun. It's great.
It was awesome. I really love it. So let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I have nostalgia for Thursday already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's now like a tent post for 2020. Like, do you have any good times this year? Well, there was one Thursday late in December that really stood out to us. So let's go ahead and jump into this, Mike. You made a 90s kid dream gingerbread house.
To totally just like shift these gears, before we just like run into the news for this week, we did some stuff on our own in the real world. The wife and I did some rigorous planning. We made some pretty baller gingerbread houses, if I do have to say so myself. So if you're not following me on Instagram or Twitter at Mike Royer Design, head on over there now. You can check out my gingerbread house, my wife's gingerbread house, because we were like, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all out. And you know what? We never eat these gingerbread houses to begin with. I don't know if you ever ate the gingerbread houses when you were a kid, but I only ever ate them as if I was desperate. All the Christmas cookies were gone. There's no more snacks in the house. You're in between grocery shopping visits, and then all of the gumdrops on the gingerbread house are starting to look appealing, even though they've been sitting out for weeks. So we made the executive decision that these weren't going to be eaten, which makes things so much easier, right? You don't have to worry about flavorings or extracts or anything like that. You don't have to worry about texture. You're just like, we're making construction grade equipment, right? I'm making construction grade gingerbread. I'm making like super thick and gluey icing to put all this stuff together. It makes everything so much easier, so you can concentrate on design. So I made the house from Invader Zim. I made Invader Zim's like nice little house. It was a little difficult to get together because the slopes of it are not good for gravity. So I had to make like this little Lego scaffolding while it dried, which was fun. Legos almost feel like cheating, but like I have them, so I'm going to use them, right? Mm-hmm. And we made these isomalt windows where you kind of melt this sugar to make the windows. My wife made the Rosebud Motel from Schitt's Creek, which was really cool, much larger in scale than mine. And I really liked hers because she freestyled hers a little bit more, whereas like I was way too much in my own brain. So they both turned out really, really great, but they kind of had both these different feels to them. So, and an extra level too is if you can put your gingerbread house on some sort of foam core or cardboard, you can cut a hole underneath it and you can kind of feed these like new fancy tiny LED Christmas lights inside, and your fucking house can glow. Man, I'm already swearing at the top of the show. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you are excited. Have you eaten this house yet?
No, I'm not going to eat it. It is technically all edible, except for maybe one or two elements. None of it's going to taste good, but it's all edible, except for I had to use like Sharpie once or twice to like put in some finer details, and I didn't want to make any more frosting or icing because you have to have at least one egg white in there, and it's just like I just need like a teaspoon of frosting. I'm not going to throw out an entire egg white, just to make this. So I'm confident that a grown person could eat this thing and they would not get sick, barring for lots of sugar. But that's what we did. So you can head on over and check my stuff out online. I think it turned out pretty well. I liked it.
It's very nice. Yeah, I mean, when you're like, we use isomalt, I'm like, ooh, Mike's been watching his Great British Bake Off. Little
Damn straight.
Because you need that isomalt. The other thing I've on the flip side of that, in terms of the holiday spirit, Mike, I turned on the 1960s How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the fun 30-minute animated show, right? That that proves that Christmas isn't the problem. People at Christmas are the problem. So, what's cool about this, I actually have this on a vinyl record. And it's a neon green vinyl record, and it plays the whole thing as well. So I just love this old classic. And now people may be like, well, the Jim Carrey one. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's great. They're different movies. You can watch them both. But I just love the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Boris Karloff as the Grinch and the narrator. Just really hits home to me growing up. That was like, we didn't do gingerbread houses. We didn't do a lot of Christmas decorations with my family. But that movie will always be what I associate probably most with Christmas, next to Christmas Vacation, which is a whole different beast in and of itself for that. But I do have a gingerbread house I'm making this week, Mike, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like later. It's gonna be a good time. Really fit into the zeitgeist of nerd culture, I think.
Zeitgeist, that's what I love to hear.
Yeah, zeitgeist. All right, so we're going to start with our only bit of news that is not related to Thursday. And we're going to put this at the top show, because if I put it at the end of the show, it would just take the steam out of everything we did, right? Mm. So, Batman v Superman. Yeah, you thought we were done with this.
Topping the show with Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder says a remastered version of Batman v Superman in IMAX ratio is coming.
No, Snyder, I don't care. Okay, this is me walking up symbolically to the first segment of the show. I'm picking up with my hand, and I'm dropping it, and I'm kicking it like a football, like all the way down, like the best kicker in the league. I just launched this thing out of the stadium because Zack Snyder, I'm done with your Batman vs Superman. I already gave you extra money to see that extended cut, which barely made it any better. So sorry, you're being rocketed out of the stadium, just like Team Rocket blasting off again. You're out of here. I got no more commentary for you.
Third time is not the charm for this movie, especially, I mean, I get the IMAX ratio thing, but why didn't you just do that to begin with? I don't know, but like, I don't need to watch a third IMAX ratio version. It's not going to change my opinion on the film at the end of the day, right? If you see more of it. So
this is like Snyder coming to your house and knocking on the door when you got all of this, you got a crazy party going on inside, right? I got Feige, I got Iger over here. They're telling me all this super fun stuff. This is a great dinner party. You weren't invited, buddy. Come back another time. Maybe we can talk and maybe we can really sit down and have a good time.
And no offense, but it reminds me of possibly the door-to-door salesman or religious people. We're having a good time. We're celebrating something else, right? He's like, hey, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Zack Snyder? He's here to save the DC universe yet again.
With a third version
Batman
of
v
Superman.
Superman.
He swears this version. It's kind of like when they're always predicting when the world will end. Like, oh, no, I had it wrong last time. I did the numbers. I ran the numbers again. Oh, no, the IMAX version is the one that's actually gonna make people like it.
Yeah, right. And guess what? You cannot watch this one on your regular TV at home on HBO Max. You'll have to buy it separately. Whenever we come out with our Justice League version 2, which will eventually probably get an IMAX ratio version V3 as well, extended, recolored, black and white.
Oh boy, it's basically Zack Snyder tax, right? If you're a fan of Zack Snyder's just superhero world, this is just a tax you have to pay. You know, if you really want to be a fan, you got to buy this. So
in the words of Always Sunny, you got to pay that troll toll to get inside that boy's soul. So. Either way. All right.
Always Sunny. Oh, I mean, since we're talking about the Disney Investor Call, Always Sunny renewed for 4 more seasons.
4 more years
on the Disney Investor Call.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing. So let's jump in. The Disney Investor Call is really the highlight of our stuff. We've talked about it. We've hyped it up so much at the top of the show. Now we got to get into it. So one of the things they said, this is lots of plans for the next 2 years of Disney, and Disney recently purchased Fox. Under Fox comes FX. 20th Century Searchlight Photos and 20th Century Studios, right? So anything that used to be Fox now falls under this. So some of the stuff we're going to hit at the top of this used to be Fox properties, and now they're not. Or they are, but they're Disney properties. So what we're going to do is kind of talk about that. One of the biggest things I think they were very, very puffing their chest about on this show, Mike. Hey, investors, guess what? Their 5-year plan for Disney Plus, they reached it within the first year, which was wild. Again, we know Disney Plus was going to be fancy. It's going to be popular. People are going to love it. But like, you know, to meet your 5-year estimated growth in 1 year, you either sold yourself short and you knew it, or you've been offering a lot of good content lately. And I think the addition of Hamilton in the middle of the year brought on a lot of people who didn't fully commit. And then I believe what else has been added other than the Mandalorian coming back? The Mandalorian, I think those are like the 2 biggest things this year, right?
Well, it makes you wonder if you could possibly run like an A/B test on the year 2020, right? Would these numbers be the same without the pandemic? You know, with a lot of people being stuck at home trying to entertain kids. I mean, kids stuck at home, the perfect streaming service for them, right? Is Disney with their back catalog of kid-friendly stuff.
Everything's safe. So, I mean, and then so I think there's just a lot of plug and play. My wife defaults to it naturally in our house. I tend to default to HBO Max right now as I kind of work. Again, my background noise is a regular show, if you haven't watched it. I watched I like this idea of defaulting to a streaming service. I've never really thought about that before, but it's true. I would say we probably default to Hulu over here just because, you know, usually I feel like the content that we're watching, you know, episodically is over there. Yeah. And especially during the holidays, sometimes we just want to watch some sort of random Christmas competition show, and I feel like that's over there on Hulu. But I don't know if they get their act together, and if HBO Max shows up on Roku, maybe that'll be my default eventually. Yeah, I was just going to do a plug up for the one of the, I think, season 4 Christmas episode of regular show. It ties in Lord of the Rings with Indiana Jones and like into the funny plot, and it's actually pretty on par. It's pretty good, so I recommend that. But yeah, so Disney Plus 5 years ago. I mean, who didn't think Disney Plus would be successful, right? So no real surprise there. They will be doing a price increase by $1 in March of 2021 for the monthly people, but I believe you can pre-order a year still, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they have any long-term plans or if they want you to do monthly, but
yeah, Chris and I pre-ordered. We got 3 years ahead of time, so we're saving a little extra money on top of that.
But at the same time, when people, I mean, you talked about this, you know, when somebody is not opposed to raising their price, right? You know, what does that mean? They said this at the top of the show before they even told us the content that was coming, and I'm like, that's a little souring. But then I'm like, look at all this stuff coming. Maybe $1 is really not too bad of a price increase if I was paying monthly.
Yeah, and honestly, people aren't going to be really scrutinizing the price until it starts to match another streaming service out there, right? So, like, what is Netflix at $12 or $13 right now?
Yeah, I think it went up recently.
Yeah, they're going up, so they're really not going to get those really solid side eyes until they're starting to equate to another streaming service, right? Because honestly, it still feels like a budget right now. This feels like a bolt-on add-on, right? When you open up Amazon Prime, they're just like, oh, add Showtime on for X number of dollars a month. That's kind of what Disney kind of feels like right now, which is weird. That it seems like they're almost underpriced, which could come back around to how they got so many subscribers so quickly.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we talk about Netflix being at it's $13.99. However, Disney Plus is more comparable to their $17.99 plan because you already get 4K and more devices on Disney than you do on the standard plan of Netflix.
Also, there's like a bundle now where you can get like Hulu with no ads and ESPN Plus. So I might be able to save money actually, because if I find out how I technically take my standalone Hulu subscription and fold it into my Disney Plus subscription, I don't know if I have to wait for my pre-purchased like 3 years of Disney to like end or whatever. But,
I think they cut you. I think they cut you a deal. I've looked into that. So yeah.
I think that'll end up saving me money. So either way, the prices are changing. There is some fluctuation, but it's not reached a threshold for me to bat an eye at yet.
And I just want to make that distinction because people are like, well, Netflix is only $14. No. The comparable plan is Netflix at $18, which is ridiculous to me. I mean, that's more expensive than HBO Max at this point. So, what do you do? I don't know. So that's just something to think about. So, but I think the number stuff we're going to talk about actually kind of plays into it a little better. So, let's jump into some of the news. At the top of the show, they gave us the Fox news, right? The stuff from the 20th Century Studios, and the first one is Kingsman. Whether you love or hate the second one, people agree that the franchise is good. The first one everybody enjoys, and they've moved up the Kingsman from September to March 12th of this year. So they seem to be putting it in theaters. Now, we're going to talk about one of the upcoming movies is going straight, or not straight, we'll have the option for theaters and premium access. But that's the only movie they mention that with. Now, my question is, some of these other movies, do you think they will get the option early on? I don't think Kingsman's going to Disney Plus, by the way, but do you think there might be a way to purchase this earlier as well?
Well, I guess it depends. I don't know if Hulu. I've never seen any sort of option within Hulu to buy a la carte, right? Obviously they could add it. They did it for Disney Plus. That didn't exist before, but then it did when Mulan came out. But yeah, I agree. The Kingsman seems like it's perfectly slated for Hulu. And if they're saying it's going to come out in March and they've just changed it, with all the information we have within the last week of the coronavirus, I mean, the United States is not going to be fully open back up to go and see the Kingsman. Yeah. So I guess maybe other parts of the world, the international box office might be able to prop up the Kingsman. But it seems like if they're really sold on this March date, we might be able to watch this maybe day and date on Hulu. Well, I mean, it's a different, I know it's all with under Disney, but Hulu does seem like a separate platform. So if if we're going by the legal language, and they said, Raya and the Last Dragon will be the first premiere access Disney Plus day and date movie, they're using all Disney Plus language, right? Kingsman could drop on March day and date and be like, well, that was Hulu. That's different.
Well, here's I don't think it'll be day and date Hulu. I'm thinking more video on demand, paid like iTunes or Amazon stores.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a possibility.
That's what Bloodshot did, right? A week later, they were like, okay, now you can just go buy it for $20 instead of a movie ticket, which I would be totally okay with. I'd be like, yeah, let's throw it on iTunes. I'll buy it and watch it. Or if they want to do rentals, I don't know what the system looks like yet for that. But I think March 12th is. This movie was supposed to be September of this year, so I think it's done. We're just waiting on it now. But moving it from September of this year up to March, that's a bold move, and I think you're gonna have to have an option to get it sooner than later. Yep. But I think international markets is what they're looking at here. Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy has also got a new release date. It was previously December of this year, then undated. Is moving to May 21st of 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong. Free Guy is that rated R? I believe.
I'm not 100% sure. But that May 21st date does get a little closer to that kind of nebulous June month that the United States has given for when everybody can get the vaccine for the coronavirus. So if they're saying that there will be a certain number of the population that will already have it, by June, I mean, May, we might start looking into possibly a more normal movie theater going environment. Come May. So yeah, they might be able to get some box office dollars at that time. And since it's the end of May also, but I still expect all of these dates to still be in flux as well. The logistics of moving this vaccine around the world is insane. So things will get delayed.
100%. I mean, I don't know if these aren't set in stone as they ever are, but Free Guy being a Ryan Reynolds, Taika Waititi movie, it's a comedy. They don't have a rating yet. I can't find one, but I imagine this being a very, very big draw using Ryan Reynolds' name. So May 21st, 2021, hopefully we'll get to see it. One of the surprise announcements with footage that we did not get to see, Mike, this is one of the panels we didn't get to watch, was an Alien TV show based on the movie series Alien from Noah Hawley, the director and creator of Legion for FX.
This was so exciting. This was like the first time that my ears really peaked up. Like, oh, they're announcing stuff today. I mean, Noah Hawley, not just from Legion, but also he kind of really broke out in his career with Fargo. I don't believe he show runs that show anymore. I'm sure he's a producer on it in some capacity. But yeah, this dude's like Emmy award winning. Went on, he made Legion. I'm sure he's already working on movie projects if he hasn't. He was booked to do the Doctor Doom movie with Fox before it was purchased. Yep, that's right. So what I'm saying, like, this guy is like top talent. He makes really, really good stuff. So the fact that they're going to make an Alien TV series for FX is great. Now this, I'd have to go back and look at the specific language, but the guy, I can't remember
Ridley
his name.
Scott is who you're
well,
thinking.
not him. The lead guy over at FX. He's kind of like their Bob Iger or whatever.
Oh yeah, Landgraf.
Yeah, Landgraf. He was saying that like FX is going to start producing stuff specifically for Hulu. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's going to end up airing on FX or if it'll have the FX logo, but it'll be exclusive to Hulu. And it sounds like this could be one of them, just because I'm thinking Alien, that gets pretty graphic. I'm sure there'll be lots of intense stuff happening in it. It might not be okay for cable if they want to go the extra mile. So if this is Hulu only, that's good news as well. So I love the Alien universe, even though a lot of the franchise has let me down in quality. It's really just those first two movies, and I think the Alien Isolation video game is pretty cool. I've never played it, but I've watched a lot of streamers play it, and it has a really cool tone and vibe to it. So the universe of Alien is really, really cool. Just Ridley Scott is just all over the place. So I know he's involved with it, but Noah Hawley is a really, really smart guy, so I'm hoping that he can kind of just really have a creative vision, and he won't be steamrolled by Ridley.
Well, Ridley's not attached yet, believe it or not. This is one of the few things where they're still talking to him about being an executive producer, but they've not committed him to it yet, because he says he's still working on the third Covenant movie or whatever.
Oh, knock it off, dude.
Well, it's fine. It's we're not precious on the Alien franchise, I think, but they did specifically mention that they will take the horror of the original movie and this action from James Cameron's movie and kind of merge them together into the series. So taking those, of course they dropped the best two in the whole franchise here. But I mean, Noah Hawley again. He's working on series. I'm really surprised they haven't given him a full movie to work on yet. But like, if he wants to do this Alien series, I mean, give it to him. Let's see where he goes with this.
Also, I should say the third Alien movie is really not that bad. I don't really know the difference between the two cuts. I think I've only seen the director's cut, but I like the third Alien movie.
I will tell you, I don't mind Prometheus probably as much as most other people. Alien Covenant sounds good, but I love that Ridley Scott sticks with the design of the alien, in the world that this world is in, this universe. Is very tried and true. It looks beautiful. Whether you agree with the plot and how it plays off, different story, but they always nail the aesthetic of an alien universe.
I love how his alien universe is just wet. Everything's always wet
and phallic, if you will. I mean, it's definitely what H.R. Geiger was the design work for that. So like, there's like a game coming out that's based on H.R. Geiger stuff that's not Alien for next gen consoles. So maybe tie it into there. Big news. People are excited. We've been waiting for this for a while. The next Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones 5, will be directed, of course, by James Mangold, known for working on Logan and other movies. And apparently this will be, obviously, probably will conclude Indiana's story because Harrison Ford's coming back, and I don't know if he's going to do any more after this. So that's fine, right? I mean...
Yeah, I was paying attention to a lot of the language that they were using, because at first they said, oh, this will finally wrap up the Indiana Jones story. But then they said, oh, this will conclude Indy. This will conclude the life of Indy. I was like, oh, okay. They're basically saying what's not between the lines of like, oh, we're probably also going to introduce a new adventure or two, and we're going to be sticking with them moving forward. Because it is weird. Like, Disney doesn't just do one-off stuff anymore. Like, they're going to be trying to reboot or bring somebody in to continue the mantle in some aspect.
I tell you what they do. Let them finish Indy's story, modernize it. I mean, you don't have to. I say don't put another character in to do it. I think it's fine. I mean, did you ever watch the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles from the 90s?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, those were fun. I mean, they're not the best, but those were fun from the 90s. They were kind of educational, like pieces around. I mean, I'd watch a Young Indiana Jones movie.
So what you're trying to say, you futurize it, so it's like the year 2022, this new adventurer like stumbles across like an estate sale, and it's actually like all of Indy's stuff. You know, he died a while ago, but now all of his stuff is getting sold off, and he's like getting all these. Yeah, that could be fun. There's an angle there for sure.
Or kind of, I mean, again, I'm leaning into The Last Crusade a little bit here, but like Indy's journal of the stuff he never finished. And
that's really funny because like that's loosely a plot in one of the Uncharted games.
Exactly.
I don't remember what Uncharted game it was, but yeah, there's adventure. There's still adventure to be had.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean, it's the best National Treasure, right? Like National Treasure was a rip off of this, so let's keep going with it. We're gonna jump gears a little bit. Let's jump into Disney's wheelhouse, right? This is where I thought this was probably some of the most fun news. A live action. Mixed hybrid action, live action Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie.
Oh my gosh, this was the last thing I was expecting, right? Chip and Dale. I haven't seen them forever, but they were my friends when I got home off the school bus, right?
Did you ever play the video games for Nintendo? Super Nintendo?
I vaguely remember the video games.
I rented the shit out of those. I never owned them, but I rented them. So yeah.
Yeah, Chip and Dale was from the era of Disney animation where once they got one idea that worked even a little bit, they commissioned like 65 episodes. And I know it's 65 episodes because since we didn't get to see the clip for this one, they did a little Q&A like for the normies like us at home watching. And they produced 65 episodes of Chip and Dale, but I tell you what, they produced those all at once. They did these big full orders, so they made sure that there was always something on every day of the week when kids got home from school. So Chip and Dale's was Chip and Dale, sorry, not Chip and Dale's. I think, isn't that the strip club place?
Yeah. I only know it from the SNL thing with Chris Farley where he was dancing for it. But what's interesting is Chip and Dale have always been in the Disney wheelhouse since the 40s, right? They were two little, crazy chipmunk characters, kind of like a Bert and Ernie, right? Like one's the black nose uptight one, the other one's the big red nose goofy one, right? So like Pinky and the Brain-esque even. But then they took them and put them in their own show. So they already took these existing Disney characters and put them in their own show where they were literally rescue rangers, where they were like kind of like detectives, right? Like going out, and they had their other little sidekicks. I always remember Monterey Mouse, right? Like he loves cheese, like so much his eyes go spinning crazy. So I want to see that. But I think it's really fun. John Mulaney will be playing Chip, and Andy Samberg will be playing Dale. And
great,
that's awesome.
Great
These
casting,
are great actors.
Great,
yeah.
And I think they also said that kind of the plot, the story here was going to be like the Rescue Rangers were going to be getting some other cartoons out of some hairy situations because they're like they're cartoons but in a live action world, so they might need some help adjusting or something like that. I don't remember the exact shtick, but I was like, I'm on board for this. This sounds fun.
Yeah, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe this was within the Disney Plus only section of these announcements. Yeah,
exactly, because some of these are very vague on where they're going to be, but I'm just kind of looking. It will be released on Disney Plus, so I'm excited for this. This sounds really, really fun. Let's sign us up for some 90s cartoon nostalgia there. Next we're going to get live action versions of the Gummy Bears, right? Bouncing here and there and everywhere. All right. Other more recent, probably in the last 10 years, a little maybe 11 years, Disney series got some surprise announcements here, Mike. We get a well, not My Hero Academia. Jesus. What am I thinking of here? Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6. Yeah. I said My Hero.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I did it. Big Hero 6 spinoff called Baymax, and it looks to be Baymax going around the city of San Francisco, helping people out with his special powers, and apparently he gets some new way to travel around really quickly, according to the creator.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, so we have. I'm just going to rattle off the four things here real quick because I just need to know the variations of, because we got Baymax, Zootopia Plus, Tiana, and then Moana. Now Zootopia Plus, that's going to be the only one that's shorts, right? I believe the other three are supposed to be full length series.
Well, Zootopia is going to be a series, but it's going to have like multiple sections per show, like old cartoons used to do.
But it was like shorts. The way they were describing Zootopia Plus to me, it was like little pops. It was like little shorts. Like, oh, here's like a little like 6-minute episode of what the sloth is doing, on his day off or something like that.
But it's like a 21 minutes. But there's like a 6-minute for the sloth, a 6-minute for the mice, I think, or whatever, and then 6 minutes for somebody. The lions. And
they specifically mention just 3 of them, so I feel like that's just going to be like a short thing, and they'll make more of those and maybe release them. But if Baymax is going to be a series, I thought that was pretty funny because that's really undercutting like, well, you guys already made a series. Like, it's a 2D animated series that does pick up right where the movie left off, which I thought was pretty funny because they said, oh, the Baymax series is going to pick up right where we left off from the movies. So it was just like, oh, I bet all those people that are working on the animated show are just like, damn, all the work that we did. Well, oh, well.
I don't think they cross. I think they can exist separately. I mean, this is just literally a story about Baymax using his powers to help people. So, I mean, I think that'll be fine. The other two I think are very interesting because normally in the 90s, right, if you were a Disney princess or something, then you would get a sequel movie straight to video. And now you're getting a series straight to Disney Plus. Tiana is getting one about her life owning a restaurant, and also going back to her husband's home country, which we never got to visit. In the movie.
I believe they described it as like, what's it like to be a princess after your journey is over? Like, what is it like to rule your quote unquote kingdom? Yeah. So that'll be interesting. And from the concept art that they showed, it looks like this is going to be 2D, which that's a big deal. I mean, like 2D animation, like high quality. That's kind of been on the outs for a while. I mean, we're going to be talking about some other animated stuff this show, but it's all like CG animated, right? Because it's a little bit more flexible, it's a little cheaper, and you can make it more here domestically in the United States. So if Tiana ends up being like truly 2D animation, I'm pretty excited for that.
Here's so the stuff they showed was actually from the movie. There's no concept art out yet for this, but Tiana was the last hand-drawn Disney movie ever released. So I would say if they do, they would probably keep that to the style of the movie, which I agree would be the 2D animation, which would be fantastic to watch. All we have right now is the title card, so that's interesting. I'm interested to kind of see what they do with this one. Funny story, that's actually the first Disney movie I ever saw with my wife, but we were just friends back then. We weren't dating or anything like that. So
just friends.
Yep. The other one is the Moana movie is getting a continuation. And that movie ended. They were going from island to island, exploring like her ancestors did before, right? So are we going to get Maui? Is The Rock going to return for this? Is it going to be just Moana learning about new lands? What's this one going to be about?
Yeah, I would say this one's this is the biggest of the four, right? You know, this was a standout movie. The songs from Lin-Manuel, I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was in. I mean, this was a big deal when this movie came out because it was one of the first new Disney animated studio films. Like I think Wreck-It Ralph came out just before it, and maybe there's one other one that I'm not thinking of, but this was early in the times for Disney Animation kind of rebooting their studio. So this was a big knockout success. It really proved what they were doing could really hold true. The first new Disney princess that we had in a while. So the fact that this is getting a series, I always think of budget in my head, right? When you move something to series from a film. and CG takes a while to make and polish. So I just like that there's going to be so much work and love put into this, and we get it episodically. You know, they showed briefly in the movie this underground world with Tomatoa and like all the shiny stuff and all the creatures. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of those creatures. That'll be really fun. I'm curious what characters are going to return, right? I feel like Moana has to return. Like, it's got to be her show, right? Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily expect Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to return. I'm not saying that Disney Plus couldn't afford him, because they're making some pretty premium stuff, but I think at least we'll get Moana back.
Moana is actually one of the newer ones. It's only 4 years old compared to some of the other stuff, which is cool. So I mean, I'm really surprised they didn't try to drop in, like, I thought they might do like a Tangled show. I know they did the animated show for that too, but like seeing how they always do like the Disney shorts with involving around like their wedding and all the other goofy stuff.
They're gonna bring them all together in like a Defender style team up.
Yeah.
That'll be the announcement next year.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's great. And then I think these are 4 interesting shows. Definitely diverse shows, right? Like none of these I think we're gonna have any overlap.
But you know what is really weird? Considering they talked about all of this stuff, we didn't get any update on that Monsters TV show, right? I don't think I saw a single title card of that Monsters Inc. TV show, so I don't know what's happening there, when we're supposed to get that, but because the last we checked, that was the first thing they ever announced.
Yeah,
and so that's interesting.
Exactly, and that's the one I'm actually most excited for. So, but that falls under a different umbrella of Pixar. And Pixar did hit us with some of their upcoming movies and stuff like that, but like it was just kind of teasers and title cards, right? Like there's Red, and then something else, I don't even remember, but the one that sticks out is going to blow everyone's mind away is To Infinity and Beyond with Lightyear, the movie based on Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story universe. So the movie within the movie, if you will, which is a crazy concept, but I love it.
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, this really unshackles you. I mean, you can tell whatever story you want to tell. You don't have to worry about connecting it to the Toy Story universe, as long as, you know, you hit those canon notes, like with Zurg and stuff like that they've established within the toy line, right? So I think this is a really cool meta move that really works. You know, I feel like if you tried to make this movie like 10 years ago when our pop culture wasn't quite as meta, people might have been a little bit more confused, but now I think people are all on board with it. I'm glad that Tim Allen's out of it, because if you haven't been keeping up with Tim Allen lately, he's become slightly more problematic the older he gets.
And you thought his arrest for cocaine possession was bad. No.
Yeah, so the fact that they're bringing in Chris Evans.
Yes.
They got that. We gave us that new screenshot of like the updated Space Ranger face. And like, oh yeah, that's Chris Evans right there. That's perfect.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, right? This is the movie that the toys are based on. So the toys can be a little rougher around or a little smoother around the edges, and they got a little stubble on this one. What I remember, and you brought it up, there literally is a TV show called Buzz Lightyear and the Space Rangers or something like that,
or Star Command.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and I watched that at my grandma's before I went to school every day growing up. Like, I remember watching that. Yeah,
there was like a brief moment in time where either like because if you grew up in the 90s, you never knew what channels your cable package was going to have compared to your friends that lived across town, right? So I think at one point in time our cable package like added like Warner Brothers TV. I think the WB might have technically been airing it in my area.
We didn't have cable. Ours was local over the air. I think the WB you could pick up on antenna, because that's used to be like CW.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I think I do. I was like, oh shit, I can watch this now. So, and I liked it. I remembered. I don't remember anything about the show except for I had fond memories of it. So there is a world to mine here, and successfully.
I believe that show is also on Disney Plus. You may be able to find it on there. So. There's a whole world. There's a colorful cast of characters, right, in Star Command, which is essentially kind of like a Green Lantern kind of universe, like Space Corp kind of thing with different aliens a part of it. I could see this. They want to revisit the Toy Story universe. Totally cool. This movie can get sequels all day, and I'd be happy. Like this looks like a lot of fun. So I think Lightyear was probably one of the standout surprise announcements from Pixar, if I could be completely honest.
Yeah, I just did a quick cursory search. I'm not seeing it on Disney Plus, but honestly, it does seem like kind of one of those shows that I think if you looked it up on YouTube, somebody's probably ripped it. If you wanted to just see what it was, but yeah, I'm down for this, and I like the idea of a space universe. Right? Usually, it's like we can only get that out of Star Wars or a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I feel like we haven't had a big kind of budget, like really fully fleshed out like space adventure outside of those franchises in a while. So hell, if we're getting it from the Toy Story universe, I'll take it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's gonna be cool because his toy things were all toys, right? So we get to see him use his actual lasers. He's gonna fly with his jetpack and wings. Those buttons are gonna actually have something to do. Like, we're gonna see where all of those origin stuff came from for the toy. I'm excited. Very, very, very excited. But speaking of galaxies far, far away, Mike, we're gonna jump into our second biggest section of the day, Star Wars.
Oh, this was it, Chris. This was it when they walked out on stage and it was like, guess what? 10 new Star Wars shows, 10 new Marvel shows.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. I expected Marvel, right, to bring the heat. I did not expect Star Wars to bring the heat.
Yes. Star Wars contained the most unique surprises. Like, I was surprised that we got to watch what we got to watch in the Marvel section, but Star Wars, they were dropping just brand new stuff that we were really only speculating about. And I'll give you a pat on the back, Chris. I think you guessed some of these like months or weeks ago, just in like group chat conversations.
We've talked about a lot of these, and that's great. And whether you love or hate Kathleen Kennedy, that's your own personal preference. But she did come out with a laundry list of things here that just are mind blowing, and I think have the right people at the helm.
This is. I'll probably call this the Mandalorian effect, right? Yeah. I mean, this just goes to show you how they pivoted the Star Wars universe, and you can see it clear as day. When they launched these brand new Star Wars movies, back with Episode 7, they're like, oh, we're going to do these separate Star Wars stories, right? We're going to show you all of these different avenues of what Han Solo used to do. We'll introduce Lando. Maybe we'll make a standalone movie about Lando, right? We'll do all of these in between, so we have a Star Wars movie every single year, right? And then things didn't go so well, right? So they have this other property, Mando. It's huge. Not only is it like the biggest, most liked Star Wars thing that we've made in decades, right? It's solidified our streaming service. So obviously, look, this is working. Let's make the right decision and go in the direction of Mando. And every single Star Wars announcement that we got on Thursday that has any sort of information to go along with it is all series related, and even some of them dovetail directly from Mando. So it just goes to show you that even though I personally don't like a lot of the decisions Kathleen Kennedy made, this is a good decision. Well, go with what's working, and that's what they're doing.
I'm going to shoot down your hyperbole a bit. This is not the Mandalorian effect. This is Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni, I'm going to go give credit the Clone Wars TV show for actually doing this before I would go to the Mandalorian. But the Mandalorian is the solidification that you can take animated to live action and work with it. Well,
it proved that it worked, right? It proved that a Star Wars series works.
A Star Wars live action series works. Like, that's it, because the anime did great enough to actually Netflix bought it for a while and used it, and then they came back with this. So I think I'm going to give this all, again, like we said, to the Dave Filoni effect, because he's proven that you can serialize Star Wars and not make it horrible.
Easy agree. Like, on the same page there.
So we're going to talk about this. So let's go first. I'm actually going to do this kind of, the first one was one of the last ones announced, but it's kind of first chronologically, because we actually get a series called Star Wars The Acolyte that takes us back to the High Republic area.
Ooh, this is the furthest back I think we've ever gone with Star Wars, barring kind of like video games and novelizations, right?
Exactly. So this is the first time we get to go back to 200 years before the Skywalker saga. So we've mentioned before that there's a mystery series developed by Leslye Headlund, known for the Russian Doll show on Netflix, right, that people love. So she is writing this mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days before the High Republic era. So
and the High Republic should be setting off some flashers if you're a regular subscriber to the show, because we talked about the High Republic. I want to say maybe the beginning of the year or beginning of the summer.
Yeah,
where we had some news of that.
Yeah, so a lot of comics and novels have launched for the High Republic. That they said that they were going to be doing, it was Project Luminaries, what it was originally called, right? And they were like, we're going to do all this stuff, because I was at C2E2 when they announced a lot of this stuff. So the High Republic's set 200 years before and 800 years after the Old Republic, so it's not quite that far back, and they're leaving it, but like, this does not touch any Star Wars we know so far. So this is a brand new saga. It looks like it's actually going to focus on dark side wielders and Sith people. Acolyte is also associated with someone who's going to wield, authority and power and be kind of villainous. So a villain focused Star Wars show set in a whole new era where we've never touched on stuff before, I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start mining out other areas, right? Because after all of these announcements, I think one of the first thing I said is, everybody out there, start updating your Star Wars timelines, because I'm already lost. And then thankfully you sent me one, and there's just logos and lines all over the place, and it's just like, yeah, there's really not a whole lot of empty pockets anymore, right? They're really filling them in. So you got to go prequel, to start finding areas that haven't been mined already.
You can't do prequel, and you can't do really up through the end of a Mandalorian right now, after the Return of the Jedi. I think that's a good window there, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I just want to point out that Yoda is several hundred years old by the time we meet him in the prequels and prequel and original trilogy. So you actually get a younger Yoda in the I guess, what am I calling, the High Republic novels right now in comic books, which is cool. So the only character I could see carry over is Yoda, and as we know, his species is very iconic right now.
Yeah, is he an angsty teen in these books? He's just like, no, I don't want to go to practice. I don't want to use my lightsaber.
He's still a master 200 years. He's like 400 years old. He's training Padawans as they go out into the Outer Rim in this, so it's really cool seeing them explore new stuff in there. He's not just sitting and providing wisdom from the
sounds like he learned from an early age that he's a good teacher.
Yeah, he's got to be out there teaching these kids. So Star Wars, the Acolyte, live action series sounds great. Can't wait to get more of this. One of the more surprising announcements out of this is also featuring a character we've seen a lot of. Two different characters that played him is Lando. It's an event series based on Lando Calrissian. That's literally all we know.
Yeah, and that makes it sound like that this probably is not going to get a second season. I don't know what you take away from the phrase event season, a series, as it like, oh, this will be kind of be a one shot almost.
Yeah, so this sounds like the one that was tied to the least of everything going on. Like, we don't know if it's live action or animated, or when the time period is. Is this is this Billy D. Williams telling stories, or is this
Donald
Glover version?
They specifically didn't say, and I feel like if they had Donald Glover in the pocket, they would have said it right there, right? He's a huge name. Of course you want to put him in your Investor Day call, so the fact that he's not there makes me think that they're not 100% sure what they're going to do with it, or what they're going to be able to do, right? Could
be contractual, financial obligations. They did give him... They said Atlanta's getting another season, and they're working on that right now for FX. So they're still on good terms with him. But the only other thing is we have Justin Simien, who was known for the movie Dear White People, is developing the show.
And the series. The movie was kind of like well, there was a movie, and it was kind of like an indie movie that Netflix bought, and they turned it into a series. And, I know some people kind of get like triggered by the title of Dear White People, but that show is legitimately funny. Yeah. It's really, really good. I think Justin Simien is a really great filmmaker. So the fact that he's going to be doing something in the Star Wars universe is totally earned from my point of view.
Yeah.
There's one season left of Dear White People. I don't know when it drops on Netflix, but I think it should be soon. I think there was delays due to the pandemic and whatnot, but it's great. I love it, and it has a large cast of characters too, so it might be good just to watch it, because I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of the people in that series would show up in his Star Wars event series, if you will. And don't say the word series too much, because it'll trigger your phone, because that's what it did to me earlier. So if you end up hearing that word again later in the show and you hear a ding in the background, it's my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, down for more Justin Simien. He's I like his stuff.
Yeah, and I think Lando is one of the few characters who hasn't had his background beat to death, and we could definitely meet him and play around with him some more, and I'd be fine with that, right? Like, he's not a character we need everything. It could also tie into that point that they alluded to in, what was it, the Rise of Skywalker, where that one girl could be his daughter, Who knows?
Oh yeah,
I don't know. They could make it anime. I'm pretty sure it's going to be live action. I would hope that it's set between Solo and The Empire Strikes Back, but you never know these days.
I'm not trying to make assumptions about Lando, but he seems like the type of guy that might have a lot of kids around the galaxy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's a very smooth talker. I'm sure he has his way with the ladies, and I don't know what contraception looks like in the galaxy far, far away. I know it was a long time ago, so I don't know, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't think about it. Don't bring it up. All right, the other one we're going to switch gears here is an actual animated show coming out of this called A Droid Story. Mm-hmm. They have specifically tapped into ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, to develop a show focusing on a new hero guided by R2-D2 and C-3PO. Characters that transcend the greatness and awfulness of Star Wars, both at the same time. So I don't think this is going to be a remake of the show Droids, that people love to rip on from the 80s, 90s. But I assume they said state-of-the-art visual effects with possibly photorealistic visuals will be involved here. Like, this seems like a high-level CG show, right? Like, not just the normal Star Wars ones.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is, right? You know, are they kind of like, oh, if it's just going to be droids and there's not going to be a lot of human actors in it, like, are we just going to tell all these stories from a droid perspective? So, you know, we don't even need, you know, the volume and actors. We can just all do this in a computer since it's all going to be visualized. I don't know, but
it's animated, so I assume it's not a mix of it.
Yes, but also technically, you know, we could say The Lion King was animated, right? Because there's no people in it. So yeah, I don't know where they're going to go with this one.
Right. Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no actors. Like they did all of The Lion King in CG. Then they put on the helmet to do it. So yeah, I think this will be completely CG. I mean, again, R2-D2, one of the few characters who can express himself entirely in beeps and boops. And C-3PO, of course, I can't think of the actor's name, but will always come back to play that character with his uptight British butler voice. So definitely digging on this. Hoping to see more sooner than later.
Yeah, Anthony Daniels.
I wanted to say Peter Mayhew, but I'm like, no, that's Chewbacca. Can't say that. So I knew I was working my way through it. Another animated show announced is Star Wars Visions. This is a series of animated short films celebrating Star Wars through different anime creators.
Oh, it's the Animatrix effect, right? I remember that back in the day when I think it was the third Matrix movie was about to drop.
Yeah, it was in between 2 and 3.
They came out with a DVD compilation of a bunch of like anime-inspired shorts.
Have you watched the Halo Legends shorts yet?
No, is that a similar thing?
Yeah, so they did that in like 2009, 2010. So there's like, I don't know, 15 short films created by different anime studios as well.
Yeah. But what we're trying to say is this isn't a new thing. They actually did it with Batman too. I don't remember what that compilation is called. But that came out, I want to say maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
So they did a similar thing with Batman, a bunch of anime shorts with Batman. That's really, really cool. So if they want to do this with Star Wars, oh yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. And actually it makes me think, now that I remember, I think somebody did an independent little short film with Star Wars in the anime style. I believe it was all like X-Wings and TIE fighters. Now that we're talking about it, it's out there in the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Disney saw that and was just like, people really like this. Well, maybe we should keep doing more.
Well, I don't know if you remember this. Marvel has some anime series they did. They did like a Blade, an X-Men, a Wolverine, and an Iron Man. No. Who was the fourth one? Maybe it was Iron Man. It was all anime, right? Studio. So they've got Disney has a working relationship with these anime studios, and I think this is great because, I mean, Star Wars was kind of based on Kurosawa films, right? Like samurai sword fights. Like the first Star Wars weren't the flippy sword fights; they were actually looked like real sword fights of lore. So, like, imagine seeing these lightsaber battles in anime, Mike. Like that's. Clash of Light's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, so I pulled up that thing that I was talking about on YouTube just to see what the stats were. So the YouTube account that uploaded it, it's called TIE Fighter Remastered, Star Wars anime short film. This person said that they took this from somebody else and remastered it with better sound effects. So I actually don't know how old this is because this was uploaded in 2017, so the actual source video could be a little bit older. But this video has almost 6 million views on YouTube. So yeah, I'm not surprised that anime is being embraced over there at Disney. I don't know if we'll ever see like a legit anime series. they don't have to, but I'm looking forward to more Star Wars anime.
Well, I think the best part about this is, we've talked about how, Star Wars doesn't have to be any time or place, right? Any of these short stories can be canon, they can be legends, they can be anything, and tell different eras or retell something that we already saw in a different way. So I'm very excited to see how this kind of plays out and what kind of visuals we get. They didn't show any, but this series is coming to Disney Plus in 2021, Mike. So we are, within a year, we'll be watching this and talking about it. So
I'll go ahead and I'll drop that anime TIE Fighter thing in the show notes for people if they want to check that out.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. The last animated thing we're going to talk about, so I think some of this has been animated. So the last animated thing is going to be called The Bad Batch, which we've already talked about before, right? We know this is coming. So the first trailer showed this animated spinoff of The Bad Batch, which was debuted in season 7 of the Clone Wars. You didn't get to watch it, so you kind of asked me what was going on with that, right? Like where does this fit? So the Bad Batch are they're a group of clones that have genetic mutations that kind of make them very specific for one certain thing. There's like a tech dude, there's like a sniper dude, there's like a big bulky guy. So it's really more like an A-team of clone troopers, right? Like I could see a great video game out of these guys. But each clone has these things that makes them use unique scenarios. So this trailer doesn't really show us a whole lot, but it does take place during Order 66 because we see the announcement of the new Galactic Empire, right? Like right after that. But I didn't see any of these guys. It looked like they were fighting other clones, but they make it very cut so you can't tell if they are. So I'm thinking that their little chips that trigger the clones don't work in them because they're uniquely mutated.
Yeah, or I'm trying to remember what happened. I don't know if it was like season 6 or season 5 when they were talking about Order 66 in the Clone Wars, but I thought there was talk of the clones trying to remove the chip physically from them, and I think one of them did.
Well, you saw that he got killed, and then actually the Bad Batch picks up from that, because you didn't watch these episodes, but they did touch on the Ahsoka episodes you watched, right, with Captain Rex getting it out of his head. So I don't think these guys do, but you never know. My theory for you was they're going to help smuggle the child away from the Jedi Temple. These are the people responsible for getting Grogu away.
That sounds like a perfect hookup, right? Yeah. I mean, not only being able to pull Baby Yoda into another series to get people to watch it, I mean, talk about a good strategy, but also, as of right now, I don't know of any canon that happens right after episode 3, right? It's a very interesting time. Whether you like what they did in the prequels or what they didn't do, we don't really know exactly how things start to get reordered and reorganized and what the chaos is, right? How does the Emperor kind of take over the new, what is he called, the new Galactic Empire? Yeah, so that'll be an interesting time. I don't know how long we're actually going to be living there. I don't know how many seasons the Bad Batch could possibly get, but it'd be nice. It might be nice to kind of mine that little sliver of time that we don't know too much about.
Exactly. And even if you watch A New Hope, like they talk about the Republic still existing, and then literally at the start of A New Hope, he's like, the Empire has killed off the remaining I guess Republic people. So I agree, this is fun. There's also a couple shots of the character Fennec Shand, who's played by Ming-Na Wen in The Mandalorian.
I didn't realize she was in there.
Yeah, a couple shots actually. So tying even more into The Mandalorian and Dave Filoni's work here, like, if we don't see the child in this, I'd be really surprised at this point. So I'm very excited. I would recommend, if you've not watched season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Oh, she's the one with the orange helmet. Top of the helmet. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So I would recommend watching those first 4 episodes of The Bad Batch. Some people were like, why is this in here? I don't understand it. I just want to get on with the Ahsoka story. Well, guess what? It was actually a backdoor pilot into their own show, which may tie into more of these other shows, because the next at least 3, maybe 4 shows are going to tie into everything we're talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. So surprise drop, spin-offs for The Mandalorian, 2 of them, all right? First one, probably the least expected, is Rangers of the New Republic.
Yes, and I kind of had to figure out. I had to ask you, like, what does that mean? What's a Ranger in the Star Wars universe?
Yeah. So, Rangers of the New Republic is essentially. So, this show is from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, right? Dave Filoni is writing and directing, I believe. Jon Favreau is like producing it. So, the Rangers are. We saw the X-wing fighters, right, interact with the Mandalorian early on the season. Those are the Rangers of the New Republic.
Gotcha. So if I didn't quite remember what the classification of their title was, I wasn't going to get this announcement at the very beginning.
They could also spin it a little bit because I'm thinking about this week's episode. A certain character has a heel turn towards good. Maybe he's a Ranger of the New Republic. Maybe it's a new classification of people who are still striking against the remaining empire.
It's kind of like what do they call it? They're kind of like these galactic cops.
Yeah.
They kind of are treating them kind of like the
beat cops.
Blue and what do they call them? Blue and whites, black and whites,
blue and black.
I don't remember what they call blue and blacks. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, these are just kind of like beat cops. And they don't have police cars. They have X-wings that are going around. I saw that Simu Liu over on Twitter, who has starred with one of the X-wing fighters. They are both in a TV show, Kim's Convenience, together. So he was just like, oh, if this guy isn't in this series, I'm going to be really, really mad.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name, but me and my wife always call him Appa because that's the character that he plays in Kim's Convenience. So, I mean, he's technically been in two episodes now. So, I mean, he's definitely not just a one-off cameo anymore, having him for 2 episodes. So if he's going to be in the Rangers of the New Republic, I'm excited for that because he's a huge Star Wars nerd, and this is like the gig of his career.
The Mandalorian season 2 is really focused on law and order in a post-Empire kind of thing with, I forget what's her name, Cara Dune becoming a sheriff, right? And then, these new Republic people flying around and stuff like that. So there's a lot of story potential here in between episodes 6 and 7 that we don't know. I believe that's the biggest hole that we could fill in and not be overly offended if it doesn't touch the Skywalker saga at all, right? Like, I think it's fine. Mandalorian's been doing great in it. So, but apparently Rangers of the New Republic will intersect with future stories and culminate into a climactic story event.
Ooh.
So, tying in with the Mandalorian, what else is this going to tie into, Mike?
Oh,
the other
Ahsoka.
spin-off show, Ahsoka. So, Rosario Dawson will be reprising her role as Ahsoka Tano from the Mandalorian in her own series.
You called it, at least in my social circles, Chris. You're the first one that I heard that said, oh, we're going to get an Ahsoka series. And, I mean, it makes sense. Why would you put all the work into bringing this character back if you don't at least see them again in some aspect, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, like, they could even have waited for fan reaction from The Mandalorian, right? Like, test the waters. A couple weeks later, are we going to announce it or not, kind of thing. Fan reaction was great. It was a great episode. I would love to see this. We've got an older Ahsoka Tano. She could actually pick up her story from Rebels, where she's looking for dealing with not Kanan, Ezra Bridger, and then also looking for the blue guy, not Darth. What's his name?
The blue guy was what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, the blue guy.
But you gotta have a lightsaber show, right? I always distill Star Wars down to a lightsaber, whether you hate me for doing it or not, right? Because it's the coolest, most iconic thing about the universe, and you can't make 1,000 million Star Wars shows without at least one of them having a lightsaber in it. So I'm glad we're getting that from Ahsoka.
Well, I think the Acolyte will deal with lightsabers, with Force powers, but even the Mandalorian is dealing with the Darksaber, right? The Mandalorian has introduced both white and black lightsabers into canon. And we've not seen a red or blue one yet. Or green one.
But the blue guy was Thrawn.
Thrawn, General Thrawn. Yeah. So
it's like these names get all so crazy. I mean, try to remember a Star Wars name, right? They're just weird, like Grogu. So it's like you have all these weird, unique names, and it's just like it's. I mean, look at all this canon we're gonna have to remember now, Chris. All of these shows are gonna be out within the next couple of years, and this is all information that we're gonna have to store in our brains. I'm gonna forget how to do math because I got to remember all these characters' names.
Right. Remember when Luke Skywalker is the easiest name, and now we got these other ones we got to deal with.
I regularly can't remember the titles of the Star Wars movies anymore because they all kind of sound the same because they're all homages to the original
Revenge,
trilogy.
Return.
Yeah, and there's Skywalkers, there's Jedi. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. What you need to know is The Mandalorian Season 3 hitting Christmas next year, Mike. We have to wait a little over a year for it to come back, but you know what? It's fine. This is great stuff.
We're gonna be getting some Marvel stuff in between that, but this will be a point of time. No spoilers, but I really liked the last episode of The Mandalorian, the one that had Bill Burr return, and it was just fun. I liked the banter. I like the canon. I like the exploration of like war and good side and bad side. And I just had a really fun time. It was this was kind of what I was looking forward to.
Well, your biggest complaint is this show is serialized, right?
But to an extent,
But all these announcements make it feel like maybe it's not so serialized now. Mm-hmm. Like, Mandalorian's going to tie in with Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic, and possibly, crossover with a flashback to the Bad Batch. I mean, it may feel episodic in nature as they film them with different directors, but I think the overall narrative is growing, and we just don't know it yet. So hopefully we do that. This is, to me, the biggest Star Wars news, Mike. I'm sorry that everything else pales in comparison to the announcement of the Obi-Wan show. Hayden Christensen returning as Darth Vader for the first time in over, 15 years now? And there will be a rematch between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader.
I feel like this is redemption, right? This is redemption for both of the actors who didn't quite get to perform how maybe they would have wanted to under the direction of George Lucas, because he had a very specific vision for those prequels, and those prequels didn't really let these guys really flex, right? But I feel like it's gonna be. I'm at a loss for words because I wasn't expecting to see this happen. I wonder if we're going to see Hayden Christensen's face at all, right? That would be kind of cool to see the mask come off and we just see the
flashbacks.
We just see the scars all over his face and everything. I think this is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I do need to get out my prescription for prequelitis. I need to take my pills, because my prequelitis is acting up again, because it's just like, we know how this ends, right? I mean, they might add some new little bits of info that might pepper how you rewatch the original trilogy, but it's just like Darth Vader doesn't die, Obi-Wan doesn't die. We know eventually where they will end up. So this does kind of feel like, one of those like Star Wars comic books, right? It's like, we're just going to tell some fun little story in the middle, even though you know where it's going to end up. But like I said, if I like lightsabers, you're going to get at least 2 more lightsabers with this show.
And I think that's fine, because I think the story is, Darth Vader. I just watched A New Hope recently, and it was like, I haven't felt this presence in a long time. Well, we just always assumed it was the last fought on Mustafar, and that was it, right? So, like, what happened between Obi-Wan being, like, the second best Jedi in the world, or in the galaxy, to make him just become a crazy old man? So, like, I think something's going to happen in this fight that kind of makes Obi-Wan kill his connection to the Force a little bit more, and make him not become very confrontational. But, Darth Vader, I don't know what happens to him. I'm excited to see this. Like, there's so much question. Deborah Chow's been great in the Mandalorian work she's done. Ewan McGregor returning. This is good nostalgia. With these actors.
I love how after all of these years, Darth Vader is still a presence, right, on the screen. When he, I don't know if it's spoilers or not, but I mean, surprise, surprise, you do get to see a little bit more of Darth Vader in the CG animated stuff that's on Disney Plus. I won't go anything far
Rebels
beyond that.
Rebels has been done for over a year. You're fine.
But it's just like when you see him on screen, it's just like he still holds up. He is still menacing, even though you know that there's like a little shitty, angsty guy underneath him, with the origin of the character. But it's just like his presence, his shape, his design, all black, the voice is just like, he still really works on screen. So I'm glad we're going to get to see him again. Because, I mean, man, at the end of Rogue One, just seeing him just wrecking the fools. Yeah.
You've not finished the last Star Wars game, have you? The Jedi one?
Mm-mm. Do we get to see him there?
Maybe. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what you said holds up even through that game. So
awesome. Good to know.
Yeah. So definitely excited for Obi-Wan news. Hayden Christensen returning. Classic. These two actors who define these roles, even in movies that people did not like at the time, coming together is definitely a unique scenario. Over 15 years later. We got a sizzle reel. I believe this is the first sizzle reel we got to see for Andor. the upcoming Cassian Andor spinoff show. It's now filming in the UK. They said they have 12 episodes to debut in 2022.
Yeah, I would say that was almost the most interesting bit of news here, right? This is the first time we've had an episode order outside of like 6 or 8 episodes. I know the Marvel stuff has been rumored for 6. I don't know if anything's been confirmed on that
Feige
end.
said 6, 8, and 10 for Marvel. They come in different varieties, but they said 12 for Andor. We got to see some of the actual people building the costumes and sets here. Well, I may, if I may, why are they not using the volume for this? It felt like they're building real full sets and real full like having 200 named people. Like, that's a bold move right now in this economy. I don't know how the UK is doing, but they said they're building more volumes, and one was in UK, so I thought they'd be using it for this.
And talk about also like a dead end for the character, right? It's just in the sizzle reel, it starts off with them showing like a brief clip from Rogue One, and he's just like, "Oh, I've done a lot of stuff." And that's kind of what he said. So it's just like, "Oh, this is going to be the show that shows us all the stuff that he's done." So I think it'll be fun, like all Star Wars stuff is. There's top of the line special effects, music, action, stuff like that. But I didn't really connect a whole lot to Cassian's character in Rogue One. I was more of a fan of K2SO. That character was super fun, voiced by Alan Tudyk. So if we get more of him, which I would imagine we would, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it makes me wonder, how many seasons of this do we get, and how much do I care, right? If this just happens to drop in a month where we don't have a Marvel thing to watch and we don't have another Star Wars thing to watch, I'll watch it, but I'm not chomping at the bit for Andor.
Well, you got 3 months to watch it. They do the weekly thing they've been doing, so I mean that's a quarter of a year on the Star Wars show. Now, the only thing I think I can see as being redeeming, Mike, and we're both kind of on the same, like, yeah, it's fine, is if they introduce another character and that kind of spins off of there.
They do have. They always have that ability, and as whether you consider this valid entertainment or not, it's always kind of fun to see the little Star Wars Easter eggs, right? What are we going to see in the background?
Where are they going to go?
Where are we going to connect the dots? So we might have some fun.
Yeah, and this is still set before A New Hope, so maybe that you ask, how long does it take for the Empire to settle, right, and become the lead? This could maybe answer some of those questions. If he's out there doing stuff for the rebellion. So I don't know. Again, we're on the fence, and it doesn't carry the way. But Star Wars content, still Star Wars content. Hopefully we come in and get surprised the hell out of. I'd love to be blown off my feet. The last, second biggest Star Wars news I beg to say, Mike, is the announcements of a Rogue Squadron movie.
Yeah, it's the first time we touched on film.
Yes,
on cinematic.
To be directed by Wonder Woman's own Patty Jenkins.
Ooh, that was a bomb drop. I mean, if you're talking about a new Star Wars movie, the next question is who's going to direct it. And the fact that you're trotting out Patty Jenkins, pulled her away from the Warner Brothers. It sounds like her contract was up over there and she was ready to make some more money.
Well, here's the thing. I think Disney's like, you stole our James Gunn. We're going to steal your Patty Jenkins. But Patty Jenkins will probably go back and do either the Amazon's movie or the Wonder Woman 3, whatever they want to do. But I think, even the fact they just confirmed again Taika Waititi's working on a Star Wars movie, that this overpowered that with his name and everything he's done for Star Wars and Marvel is still pretty big. Even pushing... Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we're trying to place these movies, they didn't give us anything about Taika Waititi except for like a weird cryptic concept art where there was some sort of like glowing like chrome gem floating around in space. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, it was like some sort of like it looked like a floating or a floating cube.
It kind of reminded me of, I didn't look it up to confirm, but do you remember that episode of the Clone Wars where like Anakin and Obi-Wan, I don't know if Ahsoka is there or not, they get caught into this weird magical
with the son and the daughter and the Force stuff.
Yeah. Like I don't remember what that object looked like, but I was like, is this hinting towards that? I don't know if that's a stretch.
To be completely honest, it reminded me of that floating rock in the Rise of Skywalker above the where Palpatine was underneath, like.
Oh, yeah, maybe something like that.
The thing is, we don't know. but that's a great name to have to it.
Yeah, but I feel like we got a little bit of a hint at what might be happening with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie. Is I think Kathleen Kennedy said a new era of Star Wars. Yeah. I don't know the exact quote, but I feel like that was the words.
Yeah, it's right here.
Does that mean
future era?
Future era. So does that mean it's placed after episode 9? Because you're using the word future, right? And it makes sense. Like we talked about, where do you mine in the Star Wars timeline for more content? It makes sense to go forward, right? There's absolutely nothing in your way if you move forward. So I don't know. But the thing is, Rogue Squadron, that's also kind of like a dated term, right? I know it was a video game, but that's kind of like original trilogy territory. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Rogue Squadron, the game was in there because you had X-Wings and stuff like that. I think, that's part of like the Luke Skywalker era, really big when they were dealing that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it just gets revitalized, if somebody decides to, remember this really old flight team? They're called the Rogue Squadron. Let's use their name for our squad because we want to pay homage to our fallen brethren or what. I don't know exactly what they do. So, if Patty Jenkins is going forward, maybe Taika will go all the way back in the past. But they did make a point to say that they're really looking forward to Taika's perspective on the universe, and they said how funny he is. So it seems like they are going to let him do what he wants because everyone was always concerned about what was going to happen with Solo. And what was that? That was Lord Miller, right?
Lord and Miller, yes.
Who also had that comedic bent. So some people were theorizing, maybe comedy is not allowed in the Star Wars universe like it is in the MCU. But I mean, if you're having Taika Waititi come in, I think it's all changing.
But Star Wars has always been funny. I don't think Lord Miller is because they were funny. I think it's because they just didn't do their job on time, is what that was. I don't think that's the problem. The question is, where do they take this? Where do they go with it with Patty Jenkins? I don't think you give her something and tell her what to do, right? Like you're going to give her like, hey, what do you want to do, Patty? But I think this is going to, is this going to be Earth or not Earth, but like space battles? Is it going to be like, kind of above the ground battles? Like where do you take Rogue Squadron? Like where do you fight them? And who are they fighting? Like what's the villains if this I guess the what's that called? I forget their name already. Not the Empire. The
Galactic Senate?
No. Kylo Ren.
The Resistance?
Yeah, the first something.
The First Order?
First Order, yeah. Where do you go? Like, are they fighting?
See, how can you keep track? Yeah. It's just like, that's the thing. Once war stops in the Star Wars universe, where do you get your content from, right? You always need to have people fighting each other.
Well, it's Star Wars, right? It's not Star Peace. It's in the name. But yeah, so like, is this going to be kind of like the Rangers of the New Republic, just after episode 9, or are they going to do something different with it? Like who are they fighting is my question.
I don't know. What do you even do? What's going on?
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of Star Wars to digest, right?
There isn't ever. That's probably the most Star Wars we've had to digest in a long time. And and honestly, I don't think any of it's bad. So even though Andor is our least excited thing, I don't think that's still a bad thing.
I'm still going to watch it. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so I think if Star Wars was looking for redemption post Rise of Skywalker, 1 year later was a great time to announce all this fun stuff and show what they're working for. So that's Star Wars. That's not even that's the potatoes to the meat of this episode, Mike.
The tip of the iceberg. If you had to go to that, to go back to that well for analogy.
Yeah. So we are done with Star Wars. We are ready to talk Marvel. And as you can see from the show notes, Mike, not only one page of notes. 2 pages of notes here. So this episode's the long one.
I mean, not only do we have just a crap ton of Marvel news, but we have footage. We have so much stuff to talk about because they didn't hide anything from us, right? I mean, Disney. I mean, talk about the best investment Disney's ever made, right? Was buying Marvel.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I mean, they've made their money back already, and it's obvious to see what they're able to make after now.
Exactly, and the people in charge, Kevin Feige, God bless him, and everything he does for us.
I love him. I hope he never becomes problematic. Yeah, because he's so nice. I love him.
He's the best. I want to be friends with him, and he's doing this for us personally. I can.
Wasn't it just nice to see him on stage talking again? Like his voice is just like electricity to me. Because anytime he talks, it's usually like some sort of announcement.
And what did I ask you? What was the first thing I asked you?
And what was on his
What's
hat?
on this
What was
hat?
on
I
his
don't know.
hat?
I can't tell yet. I haven't figured it out. So I'm gonna have to go to my default search that's already filled in. Kevin Feige's. What is on Kevin Feige's hat? So
I thought it was like a stylized A or something. I couldn't really tell based on the angle that the camera was. I was like, what is that?
it looked like someone with something in the background. I'm thinking maybe a Captain Marvel, but I don't know yet. We'll definitely have to take some look at it here. But he came out and dropped on us not one, not 2, but 3 years worth of information. And a lot of this we didn't have before. Half of it I say we had before, if not less. More we did not have.
Like I said at the top of the show, this is where I was jumping up and down. I was going, oh my God, what's happening? What's going on? I mean, my wife was feeling cooped up in the house that particular day, so she went out for like a walk around the neighborhood. And so I just felt like I had even extra room to just like freak out and geek out.
Oh, man.
I would never feel judgment from my wife on geeking out. She probably would have been geeking out with me, but I was just like, all right, I can get my wingspan out there. I can start spinning around. It was just excitement from head to toe.
Oh yeah, it is. And the best part of this is not only did they. I've done this section in a very special order, Mike. I've been able to split it up in TV shows and movies, then chronological release to the best of our knowledge.
Okay, awesome.
And because of that, our first thing up is WandaVision, because we are a month away from WandaVision, and they got us with a full trailer here, Mike. One of the fullest trailers I've ever seen, using one of my favorite 60s band song, Daydream Believer by the Monkees. And they were able to show us some really cool footage and not give anything away in this trailer at the same time. I think some of the standout things here were some clips introducing Monica Rambeau, the daughter of, I can't think of her name. She's in Captain Marvel. She's a little girl in Captain Marvel, but her mom, who is going to be the character Spectrum. Darcy from the Thor movies had a flashing shot here, and Agent Woo from the Ant-Man movie in here, as well as all the hijinks that are going to be happening to Wanda and the Vision in this.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest takeaway I had from this trailer is we're starting to get more of an idea of who is trapped and where they're trapped and what's happening. I feel like with the other trailer, I was under the assumption that it was just kind of Wanda, maybe in like a cell, or maybe she's just kind of being manipulated. But it's starting to look like that there's other humans under this kind of spell as well, and it's not just her that's trapped in there imagining all these people. There actually are real people that are possibly being fit into this zany TV narrative as well. And we got to see, Monica Rambeau. She seems to be like a secret agent that's kind of sneaking in. We hear somebody over a radio say like, oh, Wanda, what's happening?
Who's doing this to you? Yeah.
Who's doing this to you? Alluding to the fact that there's somebody they could do a little bait and switch, right? It could just end up being a Wanda's brain, messing with everything. But, there could be an actual villain at foot here. So yeah, we just get a little bit more context of what's happening, but just seeing more of the themes of the different TV shows through the decades is really fun. This is just going to be so stylistically and enchanting.
They also alluded to the Mind Stone getting blown up. How is the Vision here? They get to see Wanda. It sounds like at the end, Vision was like, "Well, if this is our neighborhood, let's fight for it," kind of thing. So
yeah, it almost showed. They showed Vision with kind of unique agency and personality. Right, he just didn't seem like something that was a figment of Wanda's imagination. So like, is he truly like alive in some aspect? Is he not just that gray husk anymore? So yeah, so many questions. This is one of those things where I'm just like, what happens in the final episode?
Who is doing this? Who has the abilities to make this happen outside of Wanda? And why are they doing this? And I am along for the ride, my friend. I love the mystery. Like we said, a lot of the stuff we didn't know before today, and I'm down for some mystery here and some magic. So I think there's also one shot I saw where Wanda was flying with her red things in her hands, like she looked like she was flying. So I'm excited to see where this goes down and do that route. Right afterwards, they gave us another trailer for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh boy!
And
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is the point in time where we reveal the Kevin Feige quote that he said. Oh, I don't know now if it was Kevin Feige or Bob Iger, but they specifically said the only difference between these series and our films is length. Now, they could be, they could just be saying that for show. We don't know exactly how the budgets line up and, the visual effects. And really, if they are shaving off a little bit, to stretch these series, I wouldn't blame them if they would. But they're making a statement here, right? That these are going to be just as good as the movies. You're actually just getting more of it. And there's a shot in this trailer where at the very end, Falcon is flying through a canyon and shooting missiles at him from a helicopter. I'm like, this is high end right here, right? This looks like it's 4 times more expensive than a show like The Umbrella Academy, which is already really expensive, and they're using a lot of special effects in that as well. So I'm just like, yes, this is awesome. It felt like the movies, which is what I'm always worried about, because the only thing we've been able to see so far is WandaVision. And since they're going for this very specific aesthetic, leaning into the idea of television, they're obviously leaning away from the feeling of a movie, but it's all intentional. So the fact that we got to see freaking Bucky flipping his knife around, we get to see missiles and rockets, and it looks like a movie. It looks like this should be a film.
It reminded me of the scene specifically from the original Independence Day, where he's out maneuvering the alien ships kind of thing.
Oh, the trench run in the desert.
And you were reading my mind. I'm like, okay, this is a show. Okay, holy shit, this is movie quality action scenes going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like now they have upped the ante in what this looks like and what they're doing. Again, we've got to see the release date. I think is important. It's March 19th. So buckle up. In 3 months, we get this. But I think at the same time we got to see Baron Zemo. In his he'll have his classic outfit with the purple hood, but we get to see what Bucky dropping bullets in front of him, right? So like, how do they meet up? How does he play this? Actress, I just lost her name, but she is in Solo. Do you remember at the end where he goes to that tribe of people? The leader of that tribe is this actress. I think it's Kelly something, I want to say. But she looks to be the main villain. She's supposed to be playing Songbird. And we've talked about it before. So she's putting on the mask, and it seems like they're fighting her on a train. So Falcon and Winter Soldier are fighting her on a train. She's obviously able to hold her own, right? Like, these are Avengers level fighters going against us. Now, what I'm going to say, I'm disappointed we didn't get to see, but also possibly this could be a blessing, no U.S. agent, right?
Yeah, we saw the back of him, right? Kind of walking up to the stage. There was a little section there. But that kind of tied in with the narrative that Bucky was saying, was like, this show is dealing with the fallout of the blip, right? The world is a different place now. It's in chaos. So it seems like these guys are going to be kind of secret agents, tasked to be sent out there to deal with all of the cracks, with all of the fraying around the edges of what the blip did to society. And, they were hinting at how they also need a symbol, and that's when they showed the back of the U.S. agent. So everything about this show, I love it. They had their kind of their buddy cop banter, going on, where they hate each other, but they secretly love each other, and everybody wants them to kiss, online on Tumblr and stuff like that. So this was great.
Well,
this was huge because I wasn't expecting to see it. The fact that we got to see the trailer blew my mind.
Yeah,
Chris.
Exactly. And they didn't hold back. They didn't pull any punches either, right? Because they've done a teaser before, but it wasn't the same stuff. It was new. And, again, the last time we saw Falcon, he was given the shield, and the shield looks like he gave it up to, like, maybe a memorial or something. I don't know. Like, I want to know what happens to tie this into the shield and Captain's legacy for that. The longest trailer we got, I timed it, Mike. I looked at the time codes. The longest trailer was for the show Loki.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I when I saw this trailer, I knew like Chris is gonna have a lot to say about this, because there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm not too familiar with, but I was like, this is some deep cut Marvel stuff that I feel like Chris is gonna inform me on Sunday what all this is.
Yeah, so this first clip reveals what we've all expected, that this show picks up exactly from the events of Endgame. Where he grabs the time cube and goes back. And it looked like he actually landed in the sand where Tony Stark landed in Iron Man 1 when he crashed his initial suit into the sand.
I didn't even think about that.
But it looks the same, right? Like, it looks like he starts the same. And he's picked up and under the I guess, care of the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, which is led by an older, aged-up Owen Wilson, by the way, which was awesome.
Yeah,
to see him.
his gray hair and mustache was trending. Like, I thought that was funny. Out of all things to trend from this trailer, people just really liked his new fit. They liked his new look.
Did he not look like Iron Man's dad, the older version of Iron Man's dad, a couple times in there?
Yeah, Yeah, a little bit.
But I mean, that's like 60s business, right? Like, spike, flat top hair, and gray mustache. But also, his name is almost his name is Mobius M. Mobius, which is interesting. You have to turn on the captions, but it'll tell you his name. And then he's even presented in front of the Timekeepers. People were like, "Oh, that's obviously Kang, or obviously the Council of Lokis." No, it's the Timekeepers, which is actually from like Thor. I pulled it up here. Thor number 245, if you will, which are like the people who right the wrongs of the time stream, which is crazy.
Yeah, which is funny because it feels a little bit like the Umbrella Academy as well, which is an older comic. I'm sure it is newer than the TVA whenever that was established within the Marvel comic books. But it is kind of funny about like, I do like this whole general concept in science fiction of like when something happens with time, there's some sort of organization that goes out there to try to fix it. Kang is almost kind of like that as well, right? In the future, I don't think he's technically on Earth. He's just in a different part of the universe, but they have that technology to be like, hey, what's going on with the time stream? We got to go back and fix that. So it's no surprise to imagine they in Endgame, they traveled in time and now they have to deal with the consequences of doing that.
Well, and exactly. And this movie looks like it's playing with time. There is obviously a very, very strong reference to the mystery of D.B. Cooper. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, the dude that when he jumped off the plane with all the money and no one knows what happened. I love that. Like, oh, that was Loki. That's really
Loki's the guy who did this, and then he's pulled away by the Bifrost, right? So who was in control of the Bifrost? Is he like
Heimdall?
Yeah, but like So are we gonna see Idris Elba's Heimdall? In the 70s?
I think Loki name drops Heimdall in this trailer.
In Thor, yeah. So will that be that, or will, because it's a different timeline, be a different Heimdall? Because this seems to be dealing with different variations of time, right? There's a scene at the end where he's got the Vote Loki button on, which is pulled straight from a comic book called Vote Loki, where he's trying to become the president of the United States, and he's fighting somebody. It looks like like an outlet mall or something.
Yeah, it looked like a Walking Dead set, just like an apocalyptic
supermarket, yeah. And then now there's a lot of debate on this one, but it looks like possibly a shot of Black Widow in this trailer.
Yeah, right. I was trying to figure out what that was. Is he? I don't know. Is there some sort of weird time stream split or something where he's talking to a dead Black Widow, or because she's in some sort of location, right? It's like some sort of spatial looking. It's
purple, and there's like a liquid. It looks like an outlet from like some sort of like sewage or like release off of a factory. But some people are also saying it's not her. It's some blonde girl who's another actress, and the light's making her look red. So we don't know what this is yet. But I will tell you, this show raises more questions than answers, and I love it. Tom Hiddleston is eating it up this whole time.
Yeah, I loved the tone of it, right? Because it kind of starts off cheeky of him escaping from kind of a zany incident that happened in Endgame, but then you get kind of like this narration of just like, oh, this is like a thriller, and they're going through time, and you don't know what's happening. So, I'm down for this, man. I'm so excited.
Well, Owen Wilson calls him out. He's like, you love to talk. He's like, no, I don't. He's like, well, you're a liar, and you just lied because you do love to talk. And I was like, oh, this banter is just going to be on point throughout this whole show. So I'm very excited to see this. They have given a May 2021 release date. So right after Falcon and Winter Soldier wraps up, we're going to go right into Loki. So I love it. I love it. I love it. The next show on the list with another 2-minute trailer, Mike. God, they just love giving us these trailers, is the What If show. And we get to see the animated series featuring iconic MCU voice actors, including Yondu, Michael Rooker revoicing Yondu. I believe Haley Atwell was possibly doing Captain Britain.
That's supposed to be Haley
Atwell.
Yeah.
But and obviously I don't know if it's Chadwick Boseman who does the Black Panther, who is now Star-Lord.
It sounded just like him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's either an amazing impersonation or if it wasn't supposed to be him originally, maybe they're using clips from the Black Panther, depending on how much he's supposed to talk. But I think it is him. This could be the final, outing of him as the character. But man, talking about voices, Jeffrey Wright, he sounds so good as the Watcher, right? I mean, he just really sets the stage. It almost kind of like, obviously the Crypt Keeper has a totally different voice, but the fact that he's kind of setting up these stories with that voice, like Oh man,
Well,
I love it.
What was cool with this is it really highlighted 2 episodes, right? The Black Panther as Star-Lord and the Captain Britain scenes, right? But then there's also like we got to see a sample of the Marvel zombies. Looks like Doctor Strange is fighting a shadow version of himself along the way. What else did we see? I mean, there was the iconic Iron Man 2 donut scene with Iron Man animated in this very it's like cell shading, would you say, animated style a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of it's this cell shading kind of look to it, which originally when I first saw like the very first brief like screenshots of this like a year or two ago, I wasn't too jazzed about, but seeing it animated, it does look a little bit more premium. It does look like they had a little bit more time to spend on like the lighting and the sets and the shots. So it does look a little bit more premium than something that you just might see on like Disney XD like on the weekend or something like that. So that made me happy.
Yeah, and then I mean I love the zombie Captain America throwing the shield and then Bucky immediately spinning it and throwing it back. I want to see how this Marvel Zombies plays out in this. And the best part about these what ifs is, is this related to the Loki show is my question. Like if he's going through a bunch of what if timelines, are we going to get like a live action watcher at the end of Loki that kicks off this show?
Well, also, what's the delineation in the MCU between different time streams and different multiverses, right? Because if we're talking about different realities and different concepts, if time is strictly just about different outcomes, right? I could see possibly where a zombie outcome could happen. Maybe there's like some sort of virus being transported, and if a butterfly flaps its wings, the truck falls over and they're zombies now, right? But a multiverse, we're going to talk about here in a little bit, comes with different actors and different humans becoming Spider-Man, right? Well, so I at some point in time, I'm sure they'll find a way to explain that to us.
The comic books treat those both the same way, so I don't think you have to worry about it. Like, this universe, something happened in the 40s that made someone else in the 2000s get bitten by a spider, or there's a small variation. The Marvel Zombies comic book universe is based actually on a zombified superhero landing on Earth and then taking over from there. So I think we probably won't have to worry about it too hard. But this is a summer 2021 release, so right after Loki ends, we go right into What If, and I could not be more excited for the show.
And back to back. I mean, it sounds like there'll be a little bit of a gap, possibly between WandaVision and Falcon. I don't know if those line up.
I think it's 8 episodes, so it'd be right on it.
Oh man, so Chris, once January hits, I mean,
we're not stopping.
There's going to be something ever. But this this Disney Plus Friday train doesn't look like it's stopping.
Yeah, exactly. Sign me up. I mean, we got a couple breaks. They gave us a couple of weeks here just to catch our breath before we jump back in. The last clip we saw, surprisingly, Miss Marvel. They're filming right now. We got a sizzle reel from the upcoming show showcasing actress Iman Vellani, but she didn't really give us any of her powers yet, right? They're early filming, so we can see a lot of inspired Captain Marvel shots, like outfits and stuff.
We did. We got a little bit of an explanation behind that set photo we saw of her in that kind of weird kind of patent leather Captain Marvel outfit with the fake mohawk.
The Halloween
and
costume.
It looks like she buys it from a store.
Yep, and then her shirt actually has Valkyrie and Captain Marvel on it in another shot later. So there's no release date for this, but honestly, out of all the shows, this one and the next one we'll talk about seem to be coming up right after. So I assume after What If, we're either going to be getting Miss Marvel or Hawkeye. But I think the fact they're giving us footage feels like this is first, right? Like, yeah. But it could also require some more CG.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not even the last bit of Miss Marvel / Captain Marvel news that we have on the show today.
Yeah,
man,
it's a kicker. I think what's interesting, a lot of the stills and stuff from the video show, how are they going to tie the Inhumans universe into this, right? Like, there's supposedly a leak about Maximus the Mad. Are we going to get Black Bolt? Are we going to get the Royal Inhumans? Are they going to do street level Inhumans? How do they get their powers? I don't know. I want to know. I want an MCU version of Black Bolt. I don't want the TV version of Black Bolt. Give me a real one.
Yeah, I feel like the Eternals might end up explaining a little bit of this.
I don't think so, but we'll see. We'll knock on wood, because we may get Miss Marvel before that, and that'd be wild. But the other flip side of that is they started dropping into the other shows. Hawkeye's filming right now. We've talked about it right last week, week before. Kevin Feige's like, to confirm the rumors. and he says this multiple times throughout this, Haley Steinfeld is in the role of Kate Bishop.
It's like, dude, we got pictures of her in the fucking suit on the street. We know it's her.
Yeah, and that's fine, whatever. So there's I can't find it, but they showed her in action in the outfit, which we've already seen before. So we don't have to look at that. They didn't really give a release date, but that seems to, he's just out there confirming stuff now, right? He's like, look, you may have seen some tabloids. This is the truth. So that's good to know. So good for Hawkeye.
Setting the record straight.
That's right. The other record he's setting straight is She-Hulk. Tatiana Maslany will be Jennifer Walters, a.k.a. She-Hulk.
Yeah, that was great. There's a brief moment in time. There was like a second there before he said who the actress was going to be, and I was just like, oh, is it?
They knew what they were doing with that, too. They were like, you son of a bitch. And you know what? That wasn't even the biggest news of She-Hulk. I will tell you, this next bit rocked me a little bit, Mike. My jaw dropped a little bit. Do you remember a little ditty called The Incredible Hulk in 2008?
Oh, yeah. Back in the day when the MCU was at its infancy.
Like 3 months after Iron Man, they came out with this. 2 or 3 months, actually. Tim Roth will return as Abomination in the She-Hulk TV series.
Yeah, man, I'm almost thinking like if she's supposed to be like a lawyer, is she going to be like defending Abomination?
Well,
like, is he in a fancy jail cell? What's going on here?
If we take what we heard from Agent Shield, he's technically like kind of on ice in a high facility prison. We don't know if that's true, but by the time She-Hulk comes out, if it's after the blip, Abomination will have been in jail for 15 years. So maybe it's post blip world. What does it look like?
I mean, what happens if Abomination isn't blipped, but all of the security guards around him were blipped, or just the right amount of them in order for him to get out? Right?
Will she be arguing for him or against him in the court of law?
Yeah, or maybe that the legal proceedings don't even come up for Abomination because, like we have here, they did say don't be surprised if you see other characters pop up in this show. Now, whether it's Daredevil or not, everybody's going on. This is actually one thing that we haven't talked about on the show, Chris, for the last couple of weeks, because it's been floating out around there forever. And now it's finally coming to a head with the contract is of what's going on with Daredevil. What's happening with Charlie Cox and his universe and his characters? Who's going to revive it? Who's going to bring it back? What's happening? I think there's even a rumor that possibly he might be showing up in the Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but I have a strong feeling that Charlie Cox's Daredevil is done. Yeah. Right? I think he could possibly pop up as a cameo, but I feel like if they're going to reboot Daredevil, they're going to I don't want to say do it right because they did a really good job over on Netflix, but like, why would you tie yourself to this legacy of Netflix shows, right? That's like done and over with. I feel like they'd rather recast the character in like a premium Disney Plus series. And, so basically that's going around to, it would be interesting because he's also a legal person, but it seems like they're teeing up their own legal mind here with Tatiana.
Right. And well, they could bring him in as another lawyer, but I don't think if they do Charlie Cox, we don't need the version where the building fell on him in the Defenders and killed him, but he didn't die, because there's dragon bones under New York, right? Like, no one wants that history of that. I mean, Daredevil's fine, great, but like, he is too intrinsically tied to the disaster that was the Defenders to be brought forward. But maybe Abomination will be freed, because if she becomes She-Hulk because she has Hulk DNA, maybe the Abomination shouldn't be under trial because he has Hulk DNA too. I don't know. Mark Ruffalo's coming back as the Hulk. I don't think that's really a surprise, but the Tim Roth one definitely was. We will now get to see that Hulk and that Abomination and this new Hulk interact for once.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, right? Or is somebody going to make a one-hand comment of just like, oh, you don't look like you used to back in the day? One big important thing to pull out of this is Kevin Feige said that this story is going to follow what happens. How is she taken seriously in the world of law when she's like 8 foot tall and green? Yeah. So I think that answers a question that we had is she going to be a transforming Hulk, or is she going to be permanently green, right? Yeah. So I like the idea that she might be permanently green, because that's how you make your show premium, right? I mean, obviously the easiest way to save money is to make it a transformation, right? And you have her most of the time as a human. But I mean, Disney has the money to make multiple episodes where you're a CG creature the entire time, right? And
if he did mention specifically, and we'll talk about this later, that these characters will be making the jump to movies.
I forgot about that.
So making her, they did a whole movie, right, with the Hulk being green in the Hulk and voiced by Mark Ruffalo. So they have this technology down to an art. They're gonna run with it. So I agree. They're gonna make her green. And she's gonna be 6.5. Was it 6.5 or 7 feet tall or something like that? So I'm very, very excited to see what they do with this. And I think this one's the one written by the Rick and Morty writers. So
yes, I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. That or Moon Knight, one of the two. But Moon Knight, pretty much, we got a little dabble on it. No confirmation of Oscar Isaac, but they did reconfirm the series is still coming forward, and that's fine. I'm sure we're gonna get more announcements on this later. It'll probably tie into another movie that also did not have any other announcements.
Yeah, I think they basically just said like Egyptology. There's gonna be Egypt stuffed in this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, like the moon god Khonshu. So, whatever. All right, let's buckle in. All right, this is the new stuff. This is stuff I've been talking about this one for a while, and they finally brought it to the front. A Secret Invasion series, Mike. Led by Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson himself, and Talos, the Skrull, played by Ben Mendelsohn in Captain Marvel and Spider-Man. And the series will follow them as they uncover evil Skrulls who have infiltrated the world and what they're doing day to day.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, come on. What a way to do Secret Invasion that nobody ever expected, right? You know, in the comics, it's all about the Skrulls coming down, impersonating humans, taking over the Avengers for X number of years or months or weeks. The person you thought was a hero is actually a Skrull. And now they're just like, nah, we're changing all of this, but this all sounds great, right?
Yeah. We get Nick. How did we get Nick Fury again, right? Like, where did we last see him with the Skrulls in space? And now he's hanging out with Skrulls, looking for bad Skrulls. I mean,
yeah. Who would have guessed that after credit scene wasn't for a movie, right?
Yeah.
It was for a series. I wasn't expecting that.
Exactly. And this is really kind of Nick Fury's goal, right? Like when he was in S.H.I.E.L.D., he was looking for Hydra infiltrators. So he's doing the same thing with Skrulls. So he set up perfect for this.
He'd be really good at Among Us, right?
Yeah.
He'd be good at sussing people out.
Yeah. He's like, I saw that guy vent. But I mean, the show, I mean, getting the talent of Samuel L. Jackson back in this, fantastic. Ben Mendelsohn was great as Talos, as a Skrull, you know, turning the Skrull genre on its head with Captain Marvel. Love it. I'm very excited for this show. They give us a very rough logo from the comic books. I don't think it'll stand, but like, I want to see where the series goes and the implications it has on the Marvel universe as a whole. Again, crank the dial up one more time. Ironheart, this series confirmed, and they've even cast the main character of Riri Williams with actress Dominique Thorne, a newcomer.
Oh my gosh, this was the era, right? I want to say a few months ago, but I can't keep track of the timeline anymore. But this was the beginning of the year,
earlier
the end
this
of
year,
last year, when everything was getting confirmed, and we're just like, okay, hold on. Pump the brakes. It feels like everything's getting greenlit now, even though it's all just rumored. Nothing's been confirmed. And this was one of them. We talked about this, and we were just like, is it possible? Sure, it's possible. But like everything's getting greenlit right now. We can't separate the wheat from the chaff. Yeah. So now they have separated it for us. And it makes total sense, right? I mean, the aesthetic of Iron Man, a suit of armor, if you will, it makes a lot of sense. So you got to put that back on screen because that character is finally done. I think that, I mean, my opinion still holds true from the last time we talked about this, is how do you differentiate this kind of character and this storyline from kind of what we've kind of briefly dabbled with Peter Parker, of Iron Man was kind of his mentor. You know, we've already seen like a supercharged suit on Spider-Man. He's dealing with the loss of this. So, I'm curious what new direction they take with Riri Williams, and how is she so smart that she can build armor on her own? You know, a lot of things that they can explore. So I just hope they separate it a little bit from the story we've already treaded with Peter.
So you just explained it right there. So the difference is Peter is handed the suit, right? In the stuff from Tony. Riri Williams, from what they've explained, is not getting handed this stuff. She, as Kevin Feige said, she has the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. So I don't think we're going to get Robert Downey Jr. as a hologram mentor of her like we saw in the comic book version of Riri Williams. I think it's going to be her story and how she's dealing with possibly what ties into this next, I guess, this next series a little bit more. So Ironheart's coming out. I think it's going to tie directly into Armor Wars, the series, Mike. This one's fucking blowing me away.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about Don Cheadle for a moment there, right? And they were just like, they showed me this logo of Iron Wars. I'm just like, wait, what? What's happening here? And then I see Don Cheadle's face like a fade in on the right hand side, and I was just like, oh,
so
War Machine.
Exactly. So Don Cheadle is returning as James Rhodes' War Machine for Armor Wars, and this is, he says, Tony Stark's worst fear coming true. What happens when his tech falls in the wrong hands? I imagine Ironheart will tie into this very tightly. People want her armor. They want to become, the next Iron Man. They want to be that person. They're going to go after her. Armor Wars will tie into her. Like, they're coming for Iron Man tech. Don Cheadle's got to fight it, but who's he going to get help from? Ironheart, the next person with the big suit. I'm calling for a return of Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2, right?
Yes, come on.
Played by, gosh, I just lost it. You have to look this up for me, Mike. But like, he has also been in prison for 13 years. If you do the math between Iron Man 2 and the blip, so
yeah, Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, loved his performance in that wholeheartedly. So bring in Justin Hammer, give him a redemption from the mediocrity that is Iron Man 2, and let him be a part of the Armor Wars now. So I'm on board with this. I mean, I don't know about you, but this is the one this one surprised me quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, how do you even digest it? I think you floated the idea of possibly recording this episode right after Thursday, and I was just like, Chris, I can't even see straight. I don't even know how I'm going to turn the microphone on.
Yeah, exactly. So that one's going to be a huge question mark. Would love it. It's going to be great. Fun announcements incoming, Mike. The last two series we're going to talk about kind of tie in together a little bit. The first one is the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Wow, this was the moment where I was texting the group chat, what is even happening right now? It was just, this
doesn't feel like a real thing, but it sounds like it's not maybe a long-term series, but more like a one-off episode, right? Possibly a two-parter. It will be written and directed by James Gunn, and will be filmed during the productions of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and release holiday 2022 for us.
I mean, this seems like something that James Gunn wanted to do, right? This doesn't seem like something he was tasked to finish. He must have a love. He must have grown up with a lot of holiday specials and is just like, I want to make one. I'm James Gunn. I can make whatever I want. Everybody keeps giving me money for my ideas. So
he specifically said that this was his idea on Twitter afterwards, and that he has an unironic love for the Star Wars holiday special because that's what he watched growing up as well. So I don't think it'll be as bad or that, but I could see him having some fun with some of the Christmas holiday tropes and stuff in space, right? Like, how do they handle that out in the world, not on Earth? And hopefully, possibly, Thor could be in this, depending on his status of Thor: Love and Thunder.
I bet this is all about Peter Quill trying to describe Christmas and the holidays to all of these aliens, and they're just like, I can just totally imagine like Drax just like not understanding and just like trying to eat things that are decorations, and then
Groot is a tree,
baby Groot. Yeah, he's a tree. Are they going to decorate him?
Yeah, he's also teen Groot or older by this point. So make him the Christmas tree. Speaking of tree, I Am Groot is his own series based on Baby Groot, and a series of shorts for Disney+. Now, it said it will feature several new and unusual characters in the life of a Baby Groot, but there's absolutely no word on if this is CGI, animated, or live action, like mix.
Yeah, that one, when I saw this, I was like, okay, this probably isn't going to be canon, or this probably isn't going to be connecting itself to the MCU too strongly. But I was just like, it's Disney Plus. You're going to see baby content, right? I mean, Baby Yoda's flying off the shelves. Baby Groot was there first. He was the OG baby over there at Disney. So
what's cool or interesting about this is that Baby Groot technically no longer exists. He's evolved into Teen Groot. So is this like this could be a bunch of flashbacks in between Guardians 1 and 2, or right after Guardians 2, and still be fine. Like, this is what he was getting up to in the 5 years between Guardians 2 and we saw them in Infinity War. So I think that's fine. I think it's a really fun idea, and if they do it animated, even better. If they do a live action mix, even cooler. They've got the model, right? They put him in the movie a while ago. So that's our Marvel shows that have been announced and laid on us like there's no tomorrow. But now let's get into some more of the meat. All right, we had one cut of light meat. This is the dark meat here. Okay, let's get into this. Black Widow. really nothing to announce here, to be honest. Still on track for May 2021 release. They did not say premium access yet. I like I said earlier, I think the premium access stuff is going to be on a per case basis. They'll announce the next one as they move along.
Yeah, they made a point to say that we are going to be flexible and responsive to the special time that we're in. So they're not making any concrete statements like HBO Max was.
Yeah, and that may be disappointing to some, but again, May is a whole, who knows what May looks like.
Chris, I mean, all you have to do, it's first of all, I want to say it's smart. HBO Max, it's great. I love that they're making this decision. I don't have to worry about going to the theater and getting sick, and I can be safe, and I can watch all of this premium stuff at home, right? But if you were on our show notes, you can go on over to superheroslate.com to just look at all of this news. I mean, look at all of this movie stuff that we're about to talk about now, right? Yeah. 2022, 2023, all of this stuff that could possibly get third or fourth films. Like, they are looking and planning so far beyond the pandemic, right? Yeah. Like, why would they ever put a stake in the ground saying, yes, movie theaters are dead, you're going to watch everything on Disney Plus? It's just like, you just kind of forget sometimes the scale at which Disney's working. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think HBO Max says theaters dead. I think HBO Max says, we're going to make the best of both worlds.
But that was kind of the narrative that was floating around from other people out there. So it's just like, just look at these show notes. I mean, this is so far beyond June 2021.
Well, HBO Max also didn't announce any new content. They just said, here's what we have. Here's when you're going to get it. Disney says, to hell with it. Here's what we're making for you. We're not slowing down. Production is ramping up. We're building more volumes. We're doing more movies. We're doing more TV shows. You like Star Wars? Fuck it. Here's all your Star Wars. It's good Star Wars. Dave Filoni's attached to everything. So I love it. But in Black Widow, we have no news yet. I apologize. But that was the first thing they kind of said. They're going to put it out in May. The next thing was, I'm going to do these chronologically in release. Shang-Chi and Legends of the Ten Rings, as Kevin Feige pronounced it. I'm going to try to fix myself going forward.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, is Kevin Feige? I mean, I suppose out of all people, he would be pronouncing it right. But I guess we were saying it wrong.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, all we've ever had was the comic books to go off of. So Legend of the Ten Rings, they gave us a list of the full cast characters here. Again, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. The biggest announcement out of here is the character Razor Fist from the comic books. So he's a very large character who is known for martial arts. So that martial arts tournament is looking to be what this is based on. And I would not be lying if I didn't say this was the third time Awkwafina was brought up during this Disney presentation.
Yeah. I'm also laughing because I just Googled Razor Fist, and it's literally a dude slice off a dude's arms at the forearms and put just 2 X-Acto knives on the end of it. I mean, I don't know if this is how he's going to look in the movie, but he's just kind of funny to look at. He's just got these stumps with the blades at the end. He looks like a Suicide Squad character. James Gunn's like Suicide Squad, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But this is fun.
Yeah, he's probably going to have, like, my guess is something along the lines of Alita Battle Angel arms, where they're like, here's your arm, and surprise switchblade knife underneath it, kind of thing. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see where that is. That was like the biggest announcement, and that movie's still coming out July 9th, 2021. Didn't change it at all. There was not. I'm not going to put it in the notes here, but there was nothing on Eternals either. Like, except here's the cast. Yeah, we know who the cast is.
Yeah,
you're fine.
Shocking. We would have thought we would have seen something from that since it was supposed to be out already.
Yeah, absolutely dried up for that. The biggest thing after that was Spider-Man 3, which is coming out in this. So we're going to mix a couple notes here. So the first thing is Kevin Feige stated that this will tie directly into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Awesome.
Yes.
I mean, theory has been this is Spider-Verse, but multiverse of Spider-Man, perfectly fine with us.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if this is supposed to come out after the Multiverse of Madness. Like,
it's before.
Spider-Man is before Doctor Strange?
Yeah, the list, look at the list there. December 17th, 2021 for Spider-Man, March 25th, 2022 for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so I guess the multiverse starts ripping a little bit, maybe in Spider-Man's movie.
I think it starts
releasing
ripping
a couple Spider-Man.
I think it starts ripping in WandaVision.
Oh, and then it rips a little bit in Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange is like, all right, here I am. I'm the doctor. Let me fix the rip in space-time.
I'm going to sew it up with my needle hands here. So I think, so here's my theory on this is, Sony owns Spider-Man still, right? Marvel owns it. If they do a multiverse, they could technically have different Spider-Man multiverses and tell all their stories in those without having to tie into Marvel's universe. I think this is a way to have Marvel have their Spider-Man and Sony have theirs without them crossing over and saying, well, it's the multiverse. We introduced it in Spider-Man 3. Whether that works or not, we'll see. We got a whole year to figure this out. Exactly 1 year, to be exact. But the biggest news not tied to this presentation is Alfred Molina returning as Dr. Octopus in this movie.
Yes. So this is a little confusing because when I first heard of it, I started thinking about the timeline in Spider-Man 2, right? Really, Doc Ock does not exist very long within the Sam Raimi movies, right? What is he? The bad version of Doc Ock maybe exists for a couple days.
I think it's a couple
maybe
weeks.
a week.
I think it's a couple weeks because in that movie, Parker gives up his Spider-Man powers, and there's like a montage of him not being Spider-Man for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's like a Doc Ock, as for all we know, dies at the end of the movie because he floats to the bottom of the ocean with this fission reactor, whatever you want to call it. So I think, you could bring him back. You could technically say he didn't die down there. But it seems like what I'm trying to get at here is if these characters are being plucked from their movies and thrusted into Tom Holland's universe, it seems like it could happen mid-movie. Yeah. So I'm saying we could have this unique moment where we actually see a little bit of Spider-Man 2, the film, inside of our Spider-Man Tom Holland movie, and maybe it could be like a new shot. Maybe they could be using some sort of archival footage. So I'm just thinking of that shot where Spider-Man and Doc Ock are fighting on the side of the building, right? And he's swinging up and down. Are they just going to be ripped right from the side of that building and then dropped into the other version of New York?
I assume whatever they do, they'll do it right. The problem with this bit of news is now every other article in the world is like, well, guess who's coming back? Gwen Stacy's coming back from Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like, well, she died.
Well, they're gonna grab her mid-fall,
exactly.
Right?
So
just before her next snaps.
Dead characters could come in. I believe they're flash cameos, like a scene, 2 scenes at most. That's it. But after all these announcements, what's real and what's not? None of these are actually coming from news articles. Sometimes, the Gwen Stacy one, and this one's coming from Murphy's Multiverse or something like that announcement. I'm like, how legit are you? Are you just saying people now? I don't know. So I would like to see a very awesome Sinister Six. I'd like this movie to be successful. I believe John Watts has something special on his hands here, Mike, and we'll talk about why later. Because they would not give him this much work and then something else if he wasn't doing it right.
Obviously, the normal trend of trailers and stuff getting released has all changed, but this movie is a year away, almost exactly a year away, right? So, we got to be seeing a teaser trailer soon, right?
I disagree. We've not seen a lick of Eternals, and it's newer, and it's sooner than this.
Well, yeah, due to the
but it's already but it's already filmed though. That's the thing though. If Spider-Man's in production, if Eternals hadn't already planned to be out by now and is done and wrapped, I'd agree normally. But tease us with Eternals. Tease us.
Maybe the first trailer for Eternals is contractually connected to some sort of late night announcement or something. I don't know.
Maybe it's on a Black Widow somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, either way, Spider-Man 3 shaping up to be a huge pivotal movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we're going to knock on wood for that. The next movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, coming out March 25th, 22nd. Do you realize Spider-Man has had 3 movies in the time Doctor Strange has had none? He's only had 1. So I think that's just interesting. I want to point that out. However, there's confirmation Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, will return in this film, coming from WandaVision, right? Also returning is Rachel McAdams and Chiwetel Ejiofor as Baron Mordo. Great. I'm going to butcher the shit out of this name. Xochitl Gomez is going to debut as the character America Chavez. This is probably the biggest news.
Yeah, that's the best pronunciation that I could make, so I'll give you a pat on the back for that.
So do you realize what the importance of America Chavez is?
No, I don't.
Okay, she goes by the character Miss America in the comic books.
Wasn't she in that animated movie that had Ghost Spider that Chloe Bennett voiced?
Yeah, she's one of the characters in the Heroes Rising or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's
so. But her powers and abilities, she has other than superhuman strength and flight, she's able to kick open star-shaped holes in reality, allowing people to travel through multiverse and other realities. So she's essentially a gateway in between multiple realities.
Wow, I mean, I guess they're really bringing that forward. Because I kind of always assumed when this multiverse stuff popped up that at some point in time somebody was going to fix it all, right? You know, they were gonna wrap it up and stop all that craziness from happening. But if they're going to introduce a character that has that ability, you know, it sounds like moving forward, phased 5, 6, 7, whatever phases end up being in the future, maybe multiverse travel is always going to be available.
Yeah, so she is very, very easily accessible to do so, I believe. My guess is Doctor Strange will find her in another universe and use her to kind of maybe traverse these if he wants to patch up the current universe. I don't know, but they're pitching this, you know, March 25th, 2022. Oh, also confirmed directed by Sam Raimi. This is the first time we've actually heard that out of Marvel's mouth. This is Sam Raimi. So, as much as we want to tie him to Spider-Man, we can't. We're tying him to Doctor Strange. For this one.
But Spider-Man might possibly, I mean, they didn't confirm Spider-Man showing up in Doctor Strange, but I mean, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily a one-way street over there, so maybe we'll see Tom Holland pop up in this.
I also expect maybe seeing Doctor Strange in Spider-Man 3 when they're talking about multiverses, so I expect those tying in very, very closely together. Next on the list, Thor: Love and Thunder. Mike, I called this so hard so long ago. Christian Bale is in this movie, and he's playing Gore the God Butcher in this. Whether it's voice capture, real life, I guess motion capture, I don't know. But he's going to be playing this character who is out to create the God Bomb and kill all quote-unquote deities in the universe, which is awesome. So that's...
Yeah, Gore kind of looks like Voldemort a little bit, right? Yeah. So I suppose if... was it Ray Fiennes?
Yeah.
Is that who Voldemort was? I mean, if they can Photoshop his nose, I guess they can always Photoshop Christian Bale's nose.
Yeah, his alien look is very, very silvery as well, very, very silver body. But Gore was one of my favorite characters out of Jason Aaron's Thor run, so I think it's cool. He also uses the Necro Sword, which is actually a part of a symbiote sword, which is cool. So you can see like the black symbiote lines up like his body. So they could tie that in if they really felt like it, but they don't have to. Jamie Alexander will return as the character Sif in this as well. We'll finally figure out where she's been through the last couple Thor things.
Well, she's been busy on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for that 1 or 2 episodes.
The one episode in season 2, maybe, a long time ago. And then they did move some release dates around for Marvel. Thor is pushed from, I think it was February or April, to May 6th, 2022, taking over that coveted May slot with Taika Waititi directing. Love it. A little bit of sad news here. Black Panther 2, they did talk about this. They did kind of mention some of their plans and you know, that they will not be recasting Chadwick Boseman in this role, Mike. We've kind of reported that. We knew that was going to be it. So Kevin Feige says the film will focus on other characters in Wakanda and their stories. So how do they get there? We don't know yet. A lot of people are pulling for Shuri.
It sounds like what they're it sounds like what they're saying is maybe they're not going to be worrying so much about the mantle of Black Panther and focusing the film on one person. It could be more of an ensemble gig. Like, you know, I mean, ensemble gigs, Marvel does it best, right? You know, look at the Avengers, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, any groups, they can manage it pretty well. So maybe that's where they'll go, you know, maybe that is the best solution, right? You know, they said they're not going to recast, you know, are you worried about putting a different character in the mantle? What exactly is going on? So you just don't do any of that, right? You still have lots of other great stuff you can mine from this universe and story. So yeah, I mean, they're going to be filming this soon. What did they say? Filming's going to start early next year?
Yeah.
Like first quarter, I think?
Yeah, this has a release date. This was originally in the May slot. They pushed it to July 8th of 2022. They've got to have a script and story. They've got to have these actors ready to go, right? Like, they're not wasting any time. So it sounds like, his name's Ryan something, the director. Ryan Coogler knows what he wants to do and how they're going to make this work and do it, you know, respectfully, but still also maintain the Marvel universe. So I'm excited to see what they do, but not like excited like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, but like, hey, you guys are creative, let's see how you do it and do it right. The last bit of news is a Captain Marvel 2 announcements. It will feature Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, Miss Marvel, played by Iman Vellani, right out of her own TV show.
Wow.
Teyonah Parris, who plays Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, who we mentioned earlier as well.
Yeah, we kind of always assumed that might be there, but Miss Marvel, that's your confirmation of a Disney Plus starting character making it to the big screen.
And that puts the timeline for Captain Marvel 2 post Endgame. We thought they were going to do like a 90s, right? Or 2000s. Nope. If they're pulling Miss Marvel, this is post Endgame. This is now. This is the future of Marvel, not the past. So they'll be directed by director Nia DaCosta and releasing November 11th, 2022. Do you realize every movie we just listed is the next 2 years? Within 2 years, we have watched every one of these movies and TV shows.
I mean, this almost feels like a little bit of a outcome of the pandemic, right? Because nothing happened this year, so everything got pushed. So we talked about that, about how we're going to be having lots of stuff in this kind of smaller window. So, I mean, this is like the marshmallow experiment, right? Where if you don't eat this marshmallow for 5 minutes, we'll give you 2. So it's just like we haven't eaten any marshmallows this year.
Right. So I think that's the first year of 4 Marvel movies as well. So we went a whole year without one, and now we're lining up for 4 this year and 4 next year. Or no, this year would be 4. Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Spider-Man. So yeah, 2 years of 4 back-to-back. That's 8. And we're not even done talking movies. Sit down. Don't get off this. We're going to keep going. Blade, literally no news here as well. Pretty much just like it's still in the works. And there's announcements soon. Mahershala Ali still attached to it. Great. This makes me think that Blade and Moon Knight are tied together because they deal with supernatural stuff. So
maybe.
So I think they're going to get some works for whoever's in Moon Knight to be in Blade, vice versa. Maybe dial in some Ghost Rider stuff. I don't know. Like, this is an opportunity for the supernatural world of Marvel to take precedent. They didn't really announce this, I think, directly, but later on, it was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be releasing in 2023. So that's great. We don't have a date yet, but that'll be probably the first movie out of there, right?
Yeah. But we'll have the Christmas special or holiday special. I don't remember what
holiday
it's called,
special
before Volume 3.
So they'll be filming those at the same time. We'll have James Gunn off of his Peacemaker show and the Suicide Squad and running. And now we're going to tie into the 2 funnest announcements of the day. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the name of their next movie, right? Ant-Man 3 confirmed. Seeing the return of Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, and Michelle Pfeiffer from the end of that, but also the confirmation of Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror from Marvel itself, right? Jonathan Majors in your show, Lovecraft Country. And then Cassie Newton will be taking the role of Cassie Lang. She was not Cassie Lang in Infinity War whenever Paul Rudd woke up or came back from the quantum realm and went. So they've recast that role. Catherine Newton, I think she's in a new show recently, isn't she? Was it Freaky, I believe?
I'm not familiar with Freaky, but I believe it.
So I don't. Yeah, I'd have to look her up, but she'll be taking Cassie Lang. So it looks like they're going to be using an older version of his daughter as maybe the character Stature, give her some shrinking or growing powers that she has in comic books.
Was she in Detective Pikachu? Is that what I'm seeing here online when I'm looking her up?
I'm gonna have to do a Google with you. So do you think Detective?
Yeah, she was Lucy Stevens in Detective Pikachu. Oh, and also I know her from Blockers. That's a pretty funny movie.
Okay.
That has John Cena in it. So yeah, I've seen her and stuff. She's good.
Yeah, I mean, I just heard about this movie Freaky so frequently lately. Like, it's a Vince Vaughn.
Oh, isn't it like a Freaky Friday, but like with murder or something like that? I want to say.
I don't know if it's Freaky Friday, but it is a murder serial killer movie. Yes,
but like
it's comedy.
But like freaky as in like Body Switch type deal.
Yeah,
I think that's.
It's a horror comedy and it had Vince Vaughn in it. That's why I've seen it lately. I was like, okay, that's great. Good for you guys. Good for Vince Vaughn out there doing stuff. Lastly, Fantastic Four. No need to bury it. They have announced officially that they gave us a little teaser of a logo that will change over time, but that's fine. They gave us a teaser. They have signed on John Watts of all 3 Spider-Man movies to be the director of this film, Mike.
Great. Rip him out of the somewhat connected hands of Sony, right? Get him out of that Sony universe, bring him on over to Fantastic Four in the MCU, in the full fold. He's come a long way from that clown movie, right? Wasn't it like a slasher movie about like a killer clown? He did that just before Spider-Man. Talk about a sea change of your career, right?
He did that movie Cop Car. like the drama cop car as well. I mean, I'll tell you the one thing. I mean, say what you will. I don't go to see a Spider-Man movie based on the director, right? I could tell you Mark Webb directed Amazing Spider-Man 1 2 only because his last name is Webb, and he directed a Spider-Man movie. But like what John Watts has done with the new Spider-Man movies has just made a shit ton of money, right? For everybody involved, and actually made 2 really good Spider-Man movies that people enjoy. So, you know, he has worked his way up. I'm excited to see what he does in Spider-Man 3. But if he's dealing with multiverses, right? Fantastic Four can deal with multiverses as well. There's a Council of Reeds, which Rick and Morty stole and put in their show for that. But also, what I want to see in this, Mike, is the character Mole Man as the villain. Save Doctor Doom. We don't need him out the gate. Give us the original Fantastic Four #1 villain, Mole Man, and those villains. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see some sort of, you know, the one thing that's missing, right, from all of these announcements is an Avengers movie, right? Yeah. We always looked out for the Avengers movies announcement to let us know that this is the culmination, right? This is what all the movies and the phases are leading to. And they have stated that they're kind of, you know, shifting a little bit. You're not necessarily going to be having like these huge events anymore. They'll kind of culminate to maybe smaller events sooner and quicker, you know, which is great. I might look forward to that as well. But yeah, what's the big culmination for all of this stuff? And I would love the idea of maybe Doctor Doom taking a little bit longer to develop as well, right? He's kind of shady. Yeah. He's in the background. He's building. He's growing. He's getting larger. He's getting stronger. He's putting the pieces together. Maybe he sits down and has a chat with Norman Osborn eventually whenever that guy gets introduced. And maybe they form some sort of pact.
It's a cabal, actually. It's taken right from a comic book where they were all together.
So I mean, that could be really fun. Maybe we build to something like that. It's like, what's the one thing that could take on all these heroes is a couple villains actually working together, because that's one thing that we really haven't seen, right? So, yeah, Fantastic Four, great that it's finally announced. We can get that out there. And, you know, it's what we always thought. Fantastic Four was going to be happening before Mutants.
Yeah.
Now, they could maybe backdoor some mutants into these series, but more than likely, like you said at the top, it's probably going to be Inhumans first.
Yeah, and if they even do X-Men, I mean, they could start with WandaVision. This is only 2-3 years worth of stuff, right? Like, again, you mentioned no Avengers, that's fine. We take a year off. We're actually would be due for an Avengers movie in 2024, which they haven't even touched on here yet. So, if this is the list of movies through 2023, we are in for a wonderful 2024 and beyond. So I'm excited to see all these in the next 3 years and see where Marvel goes, because if you would have told me in 2010 even, hey, get ready for a Blade movie, a Guardians movie, an Ant-Man and Wasp third movie in Fantastic Four,
a Secret Invasion with Samuel L. Jackson,
I'd have been like, you're wrong. Yeah, there's no way. You're lying to me. So this has been one hell of an episode with lots of news, lots of little tidbits, and again, what do you say? Every time they do one of these things, they extended our show for another 3 years. So we've been renewed.
Exactly right.
For that. So, Mike, anything else you'd like to add to this super long, extra long episode that covers all the fun stuff we learned this week?
Wow. I mean, just I mean, I've been sitting down in this chair in front of this microphone for 3 hours.
3 hours and 21 minutes according to our Skype call.
Yeah. I mean, wow. This is what a Thursday. This literally all almost came out of one single day. We almost talked about it as long as they talked about it over there at that investor call. So all I have to say is, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Mike Royer Design on Twitter and Instagram. That's the best place to see my gingerbread house. If you forgot about that hours ago when I brought that up, you can check out my Invader Zim gingerbread house and my wife's Rosebud Motel gingerbread house over at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter. You can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, see what you're doing, we're kind of dabbling around with maybe some video content possibly coming up, maybe unrelated to Superhero Slate. But if people want to keep up with those updates, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. I did pick up Cyberpunk this week, Mike. I need to play it a little bit more. I'm working my way through it. But also, what was I talking about last week? Kate Bishop was added to Marvel's Avengers. So really, I'm going to be gaming this time. But I am so stoked about all the projects we've been talking about and what we can do for that. So if anyone has anything that they like that we do the most, let us know. Maybe we could, and what's the word I'm looking for here? And not enhance upon it, but work on it.
We're doing our own spin-offs.
Yeah. The Superhero Slate connected universe is growing. We're gonna move into a series. These are our movies every week, and we're gonna move into a smaller series. Disney Plus, pick us up. You want us. We'll take your money. People want to know more about what the shows we're doing, the reviews. We'll be in a couple of weeks doing a Wonder Woman 1984 review. Where can they find those at?
Never has our domain name been so important, Chris. Visit superheroslate.com. Look at this. Look at these show notes, man. Look at all of the stuff that we ran down and talked about this week. I mean, this is just a nice itemized list. We got links to all of those trailers, so you don't have to hunt them down. I love that you put stuff here in like chronological release order for some of these segments. It's very, very helpful. You even updated our upcoming releases page for all of this stuff, which is invaluable right now.
That's what I'm saying. I immediately sat down. I'm like, what do people want to know the most? What changed and what was added? And by God, I sat down on that upcoming release page. And I just started going to town, Mike. I was like, let's go. Let's do this. Because that's the thing. When I went looking for this news, I needed to find it in order and where was it going to be, right? So, check out our upcoming release page. I worked really hard on that to make sure you guys could see what was up.
Thank you very much, Chris. And that's superheroslate.com. Whenever we're not hacked, somebody's been messing with our stuff the last couple of weeks, but I think we've fixed it and we've solidified our security. So don't do that. You're on the naughty list. Santa's bringing you coal. But you can find us on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts like ours. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. Please reach out. Let us know. What did you think of all of this news? What are you the most excited for? What do you think's kind of meh? Well, where are you at? What's your barometer? Did you survive Thursday? I mean, wow. I mean, you just blow your brains. This is like the brain blowing up emoji all over it. Like, I could just put that all over this, and maybe I will. But if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, social distance, and wear your mask until everything is vaccinated. And we will be here every week, folks. And like Chris said, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about Wonder Woman here soon.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
You should have seen me. I was like, I'm going to make some quick show notes yesterday. 2 hours later, I walk out.